Les championnats U-Sport vous êtes présentés par the Government of Canada, le gouvernement du Canada. Barron, exclusive supplier of U-Sports Championship rings, le fournisseur exclusif des bagues des championnats U-Sport. Nike Team, just do it, faites-le. Veriburn, medical supply partner of varsity athletics since 1979. Partenaire de sport universitaire depuis 1979. Fox 40, celebrating a decade of the Fox 40 U-Sports Coach of the Year program. Fier partenaire des prix de l'entraîneur de l'année U-Sport depuis 10 ans.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome inside the Investors Group Athletic Center on the University of Manitoba campus in Winnipeg. We are live for the 2022 U-Sports Men's Volleyball National Championship between the Trinity Western Spartans and the Alberta Golden Bears. I'm Jared Brown, and I'm joined today by Adam DeYonk here, and we are just mere minutes away from an ultimate heavyweight tilt between the two pillars of volleyball in our country. And Adam, how excited are you?
It's hard not to be jacked up for this one, Jared. I mean, a lot of volleyball experts around the country would have expected and anticipated these two storied programs to make it to the gold medal match, and what a wonderful unraveling of this story to have these two juggernauts facing off at the University of Manitoba, a building and a program of its own with so much history. We're going to dive into that as this broadcast continues, but we are thrilled.
It's time now for the Momentum Volleyball Report. Get information about Canadian volleyball at home and abroad. Visit momentumvolleyball.ca.
Thank you for joining us for today's U-Sports gold medal matchup between the number 1 ranked Trinity Western Spartans and the number 3 ranked Alberta Golden Bears. Yesterday in semifinal 1, the Golden Bears beat the Calgary Dinos in 4 sets to advance. Rookie Isaac Hesselinga led the Golden Bears with 19 kills on a 42.9% attack efficiency, with opposite Jordan Canham chipping in with 17 kills on a 30.3% attack efficiency. In semifinal 2, Trinity Western won a competitive and entertaining match against Sherbrooke Verreor in 3 sets, finishing the first set on an 11 straight point run after a furious start to the set by the Verreor. Outside hitter Brody Hofer led the Spartans with 17 kills on 23 attempts, good for an incredible 60.9 attack efficiency, especially for an outside hitter. These have undeniably been the best 2 teams in the tournament, with only 1 set dropped between the 2 of them in the first 2 days of our U-Sports National Championship. Setters Derek Epp from Trinity Western and Max Elgert from Alberta have showed why they are deserving first-team All-Canadian award winners, leading the 2 best offenses in the country. Our key to the game is block defense. 2 of the most physical and offensively gifted teams in the country will need to win this match at the net. Whose blockers can protect their court the best with the gold medal on the line? Enjoy the match, and remember to visit momentumvolleyball.ca for all your Canadian volleyball news.
Welcome back to the 2022 U-Sports Men's Volleyball National Championship presented by Macassa on CBC. I'm Jared Brown, and once again joined by Adam DeYonk here, and we're just so excited for this match. It's been one of those things all season long. They're kind of circling around, right? Alberta, Trinity, who's it going to be at the end of the season? And such a different year this year without them getting to play each other throughout the course of the regular season. Their only matchup was last weekend in the Canada West Final, which Trinity won 3-1. But I was speaking with the coaches before the match, and this is the 5th time that these two programs will be competing in the national championship, and the series is 2-2. So this is it. This is the battle. Who can take the lead in the ultimate rivalry here we have in Canadian volleyball? It started in 2005. Alberta got the victory in Laval. 2006, Trinity answered back with the victory over McMaster. 2015, it was Alberta who was victorious over Trinity in Saskatchewan. And then 2017, Trinity went into Alberta's gym and defeated them there. So this goes back now 17 years. These two teams have really been kind of battling for that top position, the pole position. We do have some starting lineups to announce as well. So quickly for the University of Alberta, they have number 3 in the middle, Billy Johnstone. Number 4 on the outside, Jordan Canham. On the outside, number 5, Cam Kern. The setter, number 7, Max Elgert. In the middle, number 12, Graydon Weeb. And on the outside, number 17, Isaac Haslinga. The libero is number 11, Landon Curry. Head coach in his 3rd season is Brock Daviduk. For the Trinity Western University Spartans, the same lineup we've seen all weekend long. Number 5, the outside here, Brody Hofer. Number 6, the setter, Matthias Elser. In the middle, number 7, Jackson Howe. On the outside, number 11, Jesse Elser. In the middle, number 16, Jordan Schnitzer. And the setter, the player of the year, number 20, Derek Epp. Libero is number 2, Colton Lowen. Head coach in his 15th season, Ben Josephson. And Adam, we'd obviously have to make mention as well of the other part of the storyline with Trinity Western is Ben Josephson has been named the head coach of the Canadian national team. And we don't know what the future will hold, obviously, but we know for the time being he will be stepping away from Trinity Western to take over that program. And what would it mean to win a national championship in your last game at the helm of this program?
Yeah, he has really built this storied program over his tenure with the Trinity Western University Spartans. So to put a cap and tie a bow on such an amazing career with such an up-and-coming and continually dominant program, I think this means everything for Coach Josephson, and it would just be such a wonderful send-off for him to cap his coaching career for the time being with the Spartans off with a win here. So is it going to come easy to his program? Absolutely not. The Alberta Golden Bears are going to put up a fight. This is going to be a fantastic matchup, but what a story it would be for him.
You know, and Coach Daviduk and Coach Josephson, they have coached together. They've coached against each other. They've been involved in multiple programs over the course of the years, and I think there's a lot of respect, but there's definitely a rivalry between these two programs. And speaking with Coach Daviduk before the match, he mentioned how in his last game as a player, it was Trinity Western who defeated Alberta in McMaster 2006. That's how he ended his career, and Alberta was the overwhelming favorite that season. They were number 1 all season long. And now he has this opportunity in Coach Josephson's last match. And we keep stressing for now because I don't think we really will ever know what will happen in the future. But for the time being, like I said, he is leaving the program to take over the national team. And Coach Daviduk said he feels it's really an honor to be in this match coaching against him. And, and he mentioned, too, doing it at the University of Manitoba where Coach Pischke was here for so many seasons and now obviously has retired as well. And, there's a lot on the line. And I think for the players, they're just playing for this match, right? I don't think they're really too concerned about what happened in 2005 and 2006. But this is the stuff that we love to talk about to add a little bit more intrigue to this matchup. But I think in fairness, it doesn't need much more than the recipe we've got right here in front of us. These two teams have been great all weekend long, and look forward to what should be a fantastic game. We should mention as well the officials for tonight's match, Andrew Robb and Matt Van Rulty. The officiating has been great all weekend long, and we look forward to seeing what everybody can do here. So first serve of the day will go to the Spartans. It's Elser, passed up there by Curry. Haslinga on the right, rolled over, and it falls down in front of Jesse Elser. So the first point of the day goes to the Golden Bears.
No surprise here, Jared, that there's just a little bit of nervous energy on that first rally. Not the greatest pass, not the greatest attack, and obviously a miscommunication on defense, but these are very talented teams. They're just settling in.
Pass there by Lowen, middle attack from Howe, and he just continues to find himself in that different stratosphere from almost everybody else on the court. Side out Spartans.
I think he should trademark that spot on this floor at this tournament. We have seen him time and time again cut that ball back to position 5. What a shot.
Howe, spin serve, takes something off of it, passed up by the middle actually, John Stone, and then it's Cam Kern down the line, dug up by Epp. Elser's going to hit it out of the back row. That takes the setter, Elgert, out of the play. Curry comes in, high ball, it's set to Canham. Off the top of the block, kept alive. Cam Kern flushes it down. 2-1 now, Golden Bears.
We are going to see so much physicality from both of these teams. Every single individual on both sides of the floor are big, physical, strong players. So the net play is going to be such a treat for us viewers to watch and comment on. So keep an eye on just how physical these players are and how intertwined this net play is going to be.
Middle attack from Schnitzer. He converts. 2-2. And Jordan Schnitzer, I'd say we talk so much about Jackson Howe, the jumping ability, the hang time. But Schnitzer, he's just been getting it done, kind of just quietly going about his business through the first 2 matches this weekend, and is a very reliable player in the middle for the Spartans. Matthias Elser, the middle brother of the 3 Elsers on this squad, Jesse the oldest and Aaron the youngest. Saw their dad Tom here watching this weekend as well, and some pretty competitive volleyball games within that family, I would assume. As Alberta leads early on here in set number 1, the 2022 U Sports Men's Volleyball National Championship from Winnipeg. And that ball, served tough, has some pace on it, actually goes off the arms of Hofer and into the crowd. So an early 2-point advantage for Alberta.
Service pressure is going to be key, Jared, and we've talked about how impressive these teams are offensively, and the only way to neutralize so much force is to put them in trouble from the service line. So that is a huge serve there from Canham. He's going to need to continue this pressure to make things difficult on the Spartans offense.
Brody Hofer, great reception, high ball outside, and it is Schnitzer. And Trinity, they like to kind of have a few different wrinkles. We talked about Schnitzer being a middle, but on that one there we see him split outside on the left, and it was actually Epp approaching in the middle. And he comes through in a big time. Curry got a piece, but not enough. Brody Hofer, who I think has played quite well on Friday and Saturday. I mean, in fairness, I think you don't get to this spot of the tournament without having all your players playing their best. As Hofer comes out of the back row, dug up there by Curry. Just going to be set over the net by Dynam. And then it's Schnitzer right back in the middle who converts.
As you mentioned, Schnitzer, maybe not the most flashy or the biggest name on this Spartans team, but what an amazing start it is for him in this match here, and getting him involved really frees up and takes a little bit of that pressure off of the bigger names that we've been talking about all weekend, Howe, Elsers, and of course Hofer. So it really is a great tool for them to use him early on in this match.
And Canham out of the back row finds the hands and down, side out Alberta. And Adam, I love that point about Schnitzer. It kind of reminds me a few years ago back with Lee Gosen was the one middle, and I think it's one of those situations where on a lot of other teams, they would have a bigger role potentially, but when you have so many weapons at your disposal, you can only key on so many guys, right? You can't think of it, okay, we're going to stop all 5 guys, and it allows those players sometimes to have a bit of more of a lane to go, and they just get their job, basically go to work every day, get the job done. And he's been very solid, and especially in this offense that Trinity likes to run, where they're moving, kind of have the 6-2 combination and moving some guys around, and you see him actually hit some balls on the outside, has played well for the first 2 days. He'll now actually go back to serve, with we're all tied up 5-5 early on here in the first set. That serve goes a little bit long, and Adam, as a player yourself, what would it mean? That the first serve, I feel like that would be the one that maybe you have the most jitters on. You're kind of going back there early on in the stages of this first set.
Certainly. I mean, you go back there and there's so much hype around this match. This is the one you've been thinking about all weekend and perhaps all season when you're one of these programs, and clearly a bigger crowd than they've seen all weekend for their matches. So you definitely get a little bit of jitters, but you get a couple plays under your belt and good things can happen from there. You just settle in.
Islinga with a nice kill there down the line. Goes off the block of Epp, recycled, then he gets another chance at it here. We see him go right down over top of Hofer into the corner. 2-point advantage with Dynam serving. Elser, nice pass, back row. Hofer looks like just misses wide, and it's an 8-5 lead. But if you're a Trinity Western Spartans fan, not that you want to put yourself in this position too often, but 8-5 is a much better spot than they were last night against Sherbrooke when they came all the way back with a huge run at the end of that first set. But Alberta, they're a whole different beast altogether. I don't think Trinity's going to want to let this get too much bigger of a spread, but the missed serve there will help them out. Side out Spartans.
We've seen all weekend this kind of combination of Dynam as well, with a few other middles that they've had mixing into the rotation, but I think Dynam did a great job there. He usually comes out to serve. They don't like him at the service line perhaps as much as their other options, but he did a great job. He got 2 holds there, obviously resulting in a miss, but I think that's a huge key for them if they want to be successful, is to have some success from him at the service line.
Elser left side, and that is hit just long. I thought it might have caught a piece of the block, and I think the Spartans players were thinking the same thing. We'll have a chance to take a look here on the replay. So hard to tell, Adam. That ball is, I mean, very close to the block, but it is a point for the Golden Bears. It is the setter, Elgert, back to serve. Puts that one into the net. And Jesse Elser now will go back to serve. Great overhead shot here. You can see from up top at the Investors Group Athletic Center at the University of Manitoba. Diving pass there from Haslinga. They go back to him on the right. Elser there, keeps it alive. And they're going to go to Elser on the right. Play continues. And a big time stuff block there. Jackson Howe shuts the door.
We have seen him do that a number of times already this weekend, but this is just a fantastic play from him. He's up early. He's getting so far on the other side of the net, and he's taking away just about every angle. And when he has such a leaping ability like Howe, there really is nowhere to go down, or when you're aiming cross court like that, very difficult shot to hit as an attacker.
Elgert all the way back across to Canham, and this time it's Matthias Elser who gets the block, and it's now tied 9-9.
We did see the Momentum Volleyball pregame kind of keys to the game. It was block defense, and I think we're seeing why that was keyed by Momentum Volleyball. 2 very immediate points picked up by Trinity Western with their block, and they're going to need a whole lot more of that to make things simple on their end.
Elgert tries to tee it up, but that's going to be a back row set violation. And I just alluded to the big run that Trinity went on at the end of that first set last night against Sherbrooke. It was Jesse Elser who was on the service line, and now we're seeing him put Alberta in trouble as well. Sometimes, Adam, it's not necessarily just the serve, but also the blocking lineup that's in front of him. And a combination, I think, of the 2 things right now are working quite well for the Spartans. Curry's pass off the net, outside, Canham. And this time, Alberta is able to find its way through that Trinity Western block, 10-10.
I love that pass from Curry there. As you've been struggling, it's been an aggressive serve from Elser, and as you mentioned, he was on a little bit of a run there. You don't need to be perfect in those situations. Just activate the rally, get that ball high into the court, and let your outsides do their job.
Elser tries to keep it alive, and then Epp goes right into the scorekeeper's table to try to save it, but isn't able to come up with it. And even, nice guy, just fixes some of the papers and says sorry about that as he goes straight through there. Looks like everybody's okay. And this is definitely, like you mentioned, the biggest crowd any of these teams have seen. It's the biggest crowd of the weekend. Sun shining today in Winnipeg. Everybody's a little more eager to get out of the house. And I think everybody knew this all along, that there would be nice support for this tournament. And with both sides open here at the Investors Group Athletic Center, the capacity is quite large. And it is a little bit more noise in there than it has been the last couple days. And I think the teams are probably quite excited to be playing in this environment. Haslinga on the line. His serve taken there by Lowen. All the way outside. Kept alive by diving save of Curry. Quickly back to Canham. Lowen with another diving dig. Jesse Elser's going to set high ball outside to Hofer, and Curry can't handle it. Great scramble play there by the Spartans.
Kudos goes out to both liberos there, and I really think that's a product of the training environment that both of these teams have, Jared. These liberos see some of the top attackers in the country every single day in practice. So their ability to read on defense and pick up balls like that is just at such an advanced level, and they're going to put on a show for us today.
Johnstone kept alive after the block. Cam Curran left side, and Elser can't come up with it after the diving attempt. And we're seeing some pretty high level side out execution here from both teams. Alberta Golden Bears bench pretty happy with what they're seeing so far to this point. Johnstone, deep jump float, taken there by Elser. Middle attack, and Jordan Schnitzer continues to be quite effective here for the Spartans in the middle.
Effective and efficient, Jared. I think he has 5 attempts with 5 kills right now, and he is making it look easy on plays that are not so easy. I mean, that is a very big block in front of him there. Help from the left side as well, but he identifies it and cuts back to 1. Great shot and great start for Schnitzer. And it's another point picked up by Trinity. This time it's from the service line and the serve of Matthias Elser.
Matthias Elser, would say a multi-tooled player, I think would be the best way to describe it. You know, sort of a setter by trade, but you know, this summer was hitting some left side with you know, with the national team, and obviously with Derek Epp here as well. Coach Josephson has gone for this bit of a different wrinkle with the offense, but I think it's just a great lesson for any young volleyball players who are here watching or listening, is that just make yourself a good volleyball player. Don't pigeonhole yourself into one specific position. And I think Cam Kern is obviously a great example of that as well on the Alberta Golden Bears side. As play continues, Hofer looks to wipe it off the block, but Canham is there to shut the door. Alberta goes back on top, 14-13.
No team is giving an inch here so far to start this match. It is just one and done. Like we just saw Alberta get aced, and there is no lingering effects on an error like that. They immediately respond with a good defensive play to bounce back, and that is exactly the level of execution they're going to need if they're going to hang in this match. Talking about either side, of course, and following it up with a service error, that happens at this high level. They have to take risks from the service line, so it's just how you're going to respond in these situations, and I think both sides have done a fantastic job not letting the errors compound and being able to break runs immediately.
14-14 as we work our way through to the middle stages of this opening set. Elgert outside, Kern looks for the hands and does not find them. Trinity pulls ahead 15-14, and we're now just 1 point away from our first technical timeout.
Neither side is going to give this one away for free, as we see Alberta protesting that perhaps there was a touch. And of course, the captain, Derek Epp, for the Spartans is going to plead his case and say, stick with what the call was. Why talk about it too much? But of course, this is the level of compete that these high-level athletes will pour into this match. They know this is the last game of the season. It doesn't matter, you win or lose, you're done after this. Everybody wants to take home the gold, and they're not going to give away a point without competing in any aspect.
See if Hofer is able to serve his team into the technical timeout, but that one goes just wide. And I think, Adam, you kind of just alluded to it, and I want to make quick mention of it for those sometimes people watching at home say, you know, the comments are watching this level for the first time of, you know, they sure miss a lot of serves, right? And why is that? Why do teams serve so aggressive?
It has to be that kind of risk reward when teams are so physical and run such an effective offense. If you're allowing a team to just pass the ball perfectly to the net every single time, these players and attackers are too big and too strong, and the offense is too fast. So it becomes almost an automatic side out if you aren't applying service pressure. So there's a bit of that risk you have to take from the service line. You have to try and get them off of the net and run more of a high ball offense to give your block defense any kind of opportunity to defend.
It's a great way to explain it for everybody who may be watching. So with that missed serve, Trinity pulls ahead 16-15. Now this time, it's a great reminder that if you can have the ability to maybe pull up 2 streams to get to the championship final of the 2022 Cavendish Farms U Sports Women's Hockey Championship, which is going on right now on CBCSports.ca and TVS Sports. So, you know, roll up the second TV, maybe pull up the iPad, the laptop, whatever it is you got to do, and get both of these games going at once. Or maybe just, you know, in between sets, in between periods, a little bouncing back and forth, and just try to take in as much U Sports action as you possibly can. But I wouldn't blame you if you wanted to stick with us here, because this is going to be, I think, right down to the wire in every single set. And I think if you asked everybody, the expectation is likely, you know, the prediction, probably a 5-setter. I think it's a safe way to go through this. But it was 3-1 last weekend when Trinity Western did defeat Alberta. And speaking with Coach Davidoff, he mentioned that, you know, he thought that game was very close to going to a 5th set, but it was Trinity who won 3-1. And you know, I think today it's going to be something very similar, as we see these two teams are pretty even so far to this point. We do have a substitution here for Trinity Western. It is actually local product from Winnipeg, from Dakota Collegiate. It's Isaiah Olford who's come in, and he's very good in this role, this serving sub role for Trinity Western. He comes off the bench and can put some heat in it right away. That's exactly what he does on that one there. It takes Curry, puts him right onto his backside, but you see Curry get up and give the big fist bump to the crowd as he knew that was a tough serve to get out of.
Phenomenal set from Elgert as he forces this 31 right from the 3-meter line and catches the Spartans block. A little shorthanded there. That is the kind of wrinkle and aggression in their offense that they need. You can't become one-dimensional, just flinging balls out to the pins. You have to try and find your middles when you can. And at the high level that Elgert can operate an offense, that is a perfect pass for him to run middle.
So we had talked about the serving of Dynam and how Coach Davidoff had used Graydon Weem at sometimes starting him at the beginning of sets, letting him serve once, and then subbing him out in the front row. So this set, he had actually decided to start Dynam. A bit of a different rotation than what they've been using early on. They've kind of switched things up a little bit. So now it's Weeb who comes in here with the score tied 16-16 to see if he can do something for his squad. A nice pass by Lowe, and they go middle attack from Howe. And that's pretty clinical there from the Spartans side out, 17-16.
And that is his favorite spot on the court. He approaches hard into this lane. His body telegraphs going to 1, but that shoulder just drops right to position 5. Very difficult. He does not telegraph that shot at all. Defensively, you just got to hope for the best in that situation.
1-point lead with the player of the year, Derek Epp, on the service line. Passed off the net, high ball outside. And Lowen tries to track it down, but can't quite get it. A nice kill there by Canham.
The Golden Bears outsides have been incredibly efficient, considering the passing has not been quite as sharp as the Trinity Western side. We've seen more balls on the Alberta side passed outside of the 3-meter line, resulting in that high ball offense, but it really hasn't slowed the efficiency from the Golden Bears, which is a key if they're going to continue to hang in this match.
What a great pass there by Elser, but he's unable to get that ball through the block, and Alberta pulls back ahead by 1 now, 18-17.
And that right there is the contrast, Jared. We've seen Trinity pass the ball very well so far in this match. Maybe one of their first balls passed outside the 3-meter line, and unfortunately they don't convert. They're blocked by the Alberta side, and that is a huge steal for the Golden Bears. They now lead by 1.
Go after Elser again, this time pass a little bit tighter to the net. Hofer out of the back row and a bit of that kind of back pipe. Nice side out there by the Spartans.
We saw the Spartans dominate in their first match against the University of Manitoba in the quarterfinal, and it was all that pipe relationship. So we know they're capable of running it. We know they can have success. We haven't quite seen it much here yet, so I expect them to see that, feel the success they had in that first run, and go to it more as this match progresses. But it's the middle of the Golden Bears. It's Billy Johnstone terminating that ball.
Yeah, Johnstone with a great cutback shot to 1, and we'd seen an earlier replay from Jackson Howe, not only the ability to have the hang time and get up high in the air, but the ability to cut the ball back into position 5. We're seeing the opposite shot there from Johnstone, and sometimes it's a little bit unfair, right? You combine that jumping ability with also having the crazy shoulder as we get a service ace there off the arms of Elser. And Matthias went a few rows up to try to track that one down, but was unable to come up with it. And the Golden Bears continue to just put service pressure on the Trinity Western University Spartans. They now lead 20-18. So Isaac Haslinga will once again serve. It's been served, taken there by Lowen. Epp goes up and gets it, and then finished off by Brody Hofer. And maybe you can just explain to us the benefit of having a big setter like that in Derek Epp to going up and just getting that ball.
Absolutely, and you'll see it right here is if Derek Epp was not such a big athletic setter as he is, he's, I believe, standing at 6'6", that makes that pass look very easy. And that ball typically would go over the net for an overbump or free ball for Alberta's side, but he can cut that off before it crosses the plane of the net and make a set. That is the huge advantage of having a big, tall, athletic setter that both sides have.
Absolutely. We see a serving sub here. Tate Callis, who has played this role all weekend long, comes in and gets a big-time ace, and we're now tied 20-20 in set number 1. And this is where it gets real fun. Once we get into the 20s, you know, it's kind of the red zone, kind of the green zone, like we say in football, inside the 20s. It's the exact same thing in volleyball. The intensity just gets ratcheted up that much more. better job of their Alberta reception on that one, and then it's Cannon who was able to kind of just weasel his way through the block and down. Alberta goes back on top, 21-20.
Great response once again from Alberta. They give up an ace. It's a tough float serve coming their way, but they immediately make that adjustment on serve receive. They get a perfect pass into the center pocket, and it's a kill that results. They're not letting any runs come from the Spartan side, and that is what has kept them clinging to this 1-point lead late in this set.
And now we're going to see another substitution. So both coaches going to their benches here quite often and using some of these great players they have, using their depth to their advantage. This time it's Owen Murray, the outside, fourth-year outside, who comes in to serve. Elser, nice reception. Epp all the outside to Hofer, and Hofer with the changeup falls down in front of the Alberta defender, 21-21.
I really like that attack selection from Hofer there. We've seen a lot of physicality, big attacks coming from the Trinity Western side, and when you get late into a set, you get a little more dug in, you get a little more tense on defense because you know the urgency that every point holds. So when you get something different, a little bit of a change of pace on the attack, it's so successful.
Corey Schaunher has now checked in, and this is where Schnitzer usually gets split outside to the left. I assume Schaunher will be in the middle. So just taking Epp out with Elser going to be the setter in the back row. And that ball goes into the net, so we won't get to see actually what formation Trinity was wanting to use there, but they might actually keep it. I wouldn't be surprised if they give one opportunity here. If they don't side out, I'm guessing Epp probably comes back in. We'll see what happens on this ball. With Jordan Canham on the service line. And his serve just long. That was very close to finding the end line. And I think this is a situation where, Trinity they haven't really shown this wrinkle yet this weekend by taking Epp out, but they're actually going to put him in right back in right here, right now. So just maybe testing the waters a little bit on that one, seeing what it looked like and getting Corey kind of into the match. But it's nice when you can pull in a junior national team middle off the bench first year to bring in and change the look of your offense and defense. But a missed serve there once again by the Spartans, 23-22 Alberta.
That's just a testament to how much flow plays a factor into the match, Jared. I mean, it's tough. You had two back-to-back missed serves when Schoenherr was in there, and sometimes I can probably relate to Ben Josephson, and he probably just says, you know what, we just haven't been able to find a rhythm with him yet. Let's just revert back to our usual lineup, get Epp back in there, not worry about all this missing.
That ball pass tight actually this time. Epp unable to come down with it, and then it goes back to the Alberta side, recycled. Elgert's going to dump it down himself, and we now have a set point opportunity for Alberta. They lead 24-22.
Sneaky dump from Elgert. We hadn't seen it yet as Trinity West will take their first time out of the set, but great defense from Trinity there. Really, it was just a little bit of a slimy slide down the hands of the Spartans block, and sometimes lucky counts.
Yeah, it's funny. It's like finding Achilles' heel, right? You have this big block in front of you, but if you can kind of almost sneak it a little bit too low, they're not able to come up with it, and that's exactly what Elgert did on that one. And it's just amazing. The more we watch volleyball, obviously we've seen so many games, but you could kind of just sense Elgert was going to dump it on that one there. And obviously Trinity had the exact same thought. They were prepared for it, but unable to come up with it. And now this has given Alberta a set point opportunity, 24-22 in this opening frame in what is a best-of-5 match in the 2022 U Sport Men's Volleyball National Championship. And to this point, it's been everything we've expected. Just two heavyweights slugging it out back and forth. So we'll see what the Spartans can do out of the timeout here. They're going to need a quick side out here, and they're going to have to find one hold and force this thing into extra points. Otherwise, it will be Alberta who will take the opener. Cam Kern. Oh, and it's Schnitzer coming across, and he's unable to come up with it. Service ace, and Alberta at the end, couple big points, and they will win this set 25-22 and lead 1-0.
I love the body language of Alberta after that win, Jared. Was there a giant celebration? No. Was there tons of emotion shown? No. Was that a huge set win? Absolutely it was, but this is all business for both of these teams. I have a feeling we've got a lot of volleyball ahead of us tonight.
Absolutely. We'll be right back after this. You're watching U Sports Volleyball, brought to you by Macassa on CBC.
They don't do it for the likes or for the shares. They do it for the fun of it. For the thrill, for the camaraderie, for the memories. CBC Sports, just because they love it.
Cette manche vous est présentée par. This set is brought to you by Mikasa, le ballon officiel de U-Sport, the official game ball of U-Sports.
Welcome back inside to the 2022 U-Sports Men's Volleyball National Championship presented by Mikasa on CBC. We are live at the Investors Group Athletic Center on the University of Manitoba campus. It was the Alberta Golden Bears who took the opening frame 25-22 and now lead this match 1-0. And Adam, I think you did a great job of summing that up there, where they knew that was a big win, but it wasn't a situation where they're selling the farm after that one. They know how much work they still have left ahead of them.
Certainly, and these are two programs, and a majority of the players on both sides of the floor have been in situations like this before. They've played in big games. They've even played in national championships, whether it be at the club or university level. They know that they have so much work to do, but that's the poise and composure that these athletes have shown so far, whether you're on the winning or losing side of that first set. They know that they can still get the job done one way or another.
Max Elgert, the setter, will start off this second set. That ball from Lowen passed back over the net. Quick attack in the middle from John Stone, and Epp unable to come up with it. First point of the second goes to Alberta. And I just want to make a quick mention of something here. I'm just looking through, and something I don't know if we've really talked about this through the course of the weekend. These two teams, who clearly have been fantastic all weekend long, only one fifth-year player between the two of them. That's pretty impressive, and that's pretty scary for everybody else, knowing that they can basically roll back both of these teams, provided everybody decides to return. But knowing they have that ability, it's pretty incredible between these two squads. And it is Max Elgert, the only fifth year, and you got to figure, as we see a nice side out there from Trinity Western, but with Cam Kern, who is also listed as a setter. We mentioned how he's been playing left side at the end part of the season. He can slide back into that role potentially, and what that means for everybody else in the country is it's not going to get any easier next year with these two teams. So 1-1 here early on. Jesse Elser on the service line for the Spartans. Passed up there by Hislinga. They go back to him on the right, and Jesse Elser unable to come up with the dig. 2-1 now, Golden Bears.
What a sequence for the first year. Isaac Hislinga, that is a bomb of a serve that he makes look so easy. He passes, he gets his approach, and he buries that ball. That is an exact sequence that you love if you're a left side attacker.
Back to serve, and that one, oh, that was close. Just misses the corner. The linesman actually didn't make a call, but head official Andrew Robb was there. 2-2 with Jackson Howe now going back to serve. Ball taken there by John Stone. Pipe attack from Hislinga. Dug up by Howe. Outside to Hofer. Curry gets a piece, but not enough. 3-2 now for the Spartans.
Huge windup on the arm swing from Hofer. It looked like he was just hanging, waiting for that ball to fall into his zone, and he rips it cross court. things are flowing for both offenses here in the second set.
Curry, nice ball. Pipe attack, Slinga again, and actually a bit of a collision at the net. I think the two Trinity Western University Spartans blockers might have collided, but hopefully everybody's okay.
We've seen both sides, Alberta and Trinity Western, go to the pipe fairly often already in this second set, and we didn't see a lot of it from either team in the first. So perhaps an adjustment, both coaches may be identifying that they can diversify their offense just a little bit more.
Yep, middle attack, Schnitzer, and we got to keep giving this guy his due. He's just been great all night here.
Absolutely, and like you mentioned, Jared, it's not just in the middle. He's doing it on the left side. He's getting some great positive block touches. Phenomenal game so far from him, and the biggest thing is he looks calm and collected while doing it.
Spin serve there, and that's chased down by Elgert. Good job to recover. Canham thought about hitting it, but just going to send over a free ball taken by Lowen. Another ball to Schnitzer in the middle. And if we're giving out a player a game to the first set and 8 points, it would be Jordan Schnitzer. See, he's up there nice and high. 2-point advantage for Trinity Western. Ball taken there by Kern. Back to Canham. Got a piece of the block and the defender. 5-4 now.
Jordan Canham has been almost equally as automatic as Schnitzer has been on the other side, and that is such a weapon for the Golden Bears. You always want your opposite attacker to bear a heavy workload offensively, and when they can be as efficient as Canham has been, it's a very, very difficult task to slow him down.
That ball passed over the net, and Cam Kern flushes it down. 5-5 now.
That's the service pressure the Golden Bears had, and what I believe made them successful and the winners of that first set was just one or two more aces, one or two more overpasses forced by their serve compared to Trinity Western's, and that is why they're able to bridge that gap immediately.
Serve passed up there by Lowen. Back to Hofer on the right. 6-5, Trinity Western. I think if you're Trinity Western, not that any team at this level, I don't think losing one set is going to really derail them, but a lot of these players have been in big situations. Same with Alberta, and they know. Like I said, we see a service ace there to go 7-5, but they know there's a lot of volleyball left ahead of them. And one thing I'll never forget is a few years back when I was doing the national championship at McMaster, when it was Trinity Western versus McMaster, was something being on the court side, seeing that game was just the unrelenting, positivity, moving forward always trying to keep going. And they did lose that first set to McMaster that year and came back to win the game in 4 sets. And I think if you're in this situation here, not like those players were in that situation, but Coach Josephson was, right? And that's what's so important this time of year. And we see that, in lots of sports. It's the same thing. Obviously March Madness going on. We talked about, Coach K and Tom Izzo and these types of characters. They've been through all the situations, and they can relay that same confidence and calm and positivity to the players and know exactly when to push. And a good response so far in this second set from the Spartans. Brody Hofer, who once again serve. Taken there by Hislinga. Outside to Kern. And Kern is blocked by that big Spartans front wall. 9-5 now is the advantage.
We alluded to it in the first set, but the Golden Bears, they were making good on a lot of those broken play situations. And if Trinity Western can pick up a few more positive block touches in those aspects of their defense, it's going to make life a lot more difficult for Alberta than it was in that first set. And we see them pick one up there, which is forcing the timeout from the Alberta side.
So Coach Davidoff not wanting to give any momentum to this Trinity Western University Spartans team, just slowing things down here, making them think about it a little bit, and just refocusing his team, bringing them all back together. And again, now just on the same one the other way, talk about Trinity kind of moving things forward. When you're Alberta, it's the exact same way, where they're thinking, hey, we know we're not in trouble here. The game's not over. We're only down 4 points. We can chip our way back through this. And I think that's something that is really important for any young coaches who might be watching, or coaches in general. Is I think sometimes we wait too long to call a timeout, right? We kind of think, I don't want to waste one here. But, there's not much point in having a timeout when you're down by 15 points. I think you should have used those and exhausted those opportunities by then. And a great job there by Coach Davik to say, we're going to stop this right now, get a side out, and try to get this thing back to even by we get to that technical timeout. Pass by Curry off the net, back row Canham, and another block. This time it's Jesse Elser teaming up with Schnitzer. 10-5 Trinity Western.
This is that exact situation we were just talking about, Jared. It's a bit of a broken play, high ball situation for Alberta. The block of Trinity is there. It's so solid. They're going to have to find a different reaction to try and solve this block of Trinity, but the overbump won't be the answer, as it's Jesse Elser putting that one away cross court, and this one has now extended into a 6-point lead.
Yeah, the Spartans are definitely rolling here in this early stages of set number 2 as they built an 11-5 lead, and we're actually going to see a substitution. Sam Drybrow will check in. We saw this a little bit yesterday where he comes in to solidify the service receive in the defense. So Haslinga will take a seat. We're going to lose a little bit on the pipe option, but at this point, they just need a pass to get a side out. Outside, Kern, and that ball just misses the sideline. Alberta thought they got a piece of the block, and it looks like one of the linesmen might have been potentially calling it, as Alberta is looking for a call, as we see in the replay here. It almost looked like it might have even caught the sideline too. Very close, but these things happen so quickly. See head official Andrew Robb calling the captain forward and letting him know no more. Very close, so hard to tell here. I don't know. And the thing I think that's really important to establish too is, we see at the highest levels, and obviously the international stage, the game is even faster than it is here, but there's 2 officials and there's 4 people doing lines, and they still have a challenge system because the ball is just coming off everybody's hands so fast, and it's almost impossible to say definitively on every single call whether it's a touch or not. And especially, I think sometimes I kind of laugh when, yes, it's a touch, but if it touches your pinky fingernail, is that really what you were trying to do as an attacker? And it's kind of that same thing, we see reviews in other sports where the human eye would never ever see that. Is that really the intention of review? I think at the end of the day, when we go our way through it, these are great officials. It's all going to even out in the end, and it's not really going to play a factor in the match at all. So not only are these the best teams in the country, these are also the best officials. And we see Epp try for the dump, put out of bounds, and kind of alluded to that. I think it was on Friday we had a good discussion just about how exciting it is for them to be back in the gym. And, not only are they officials, but they're still fans of the game too, right? And the games that they're not reffing, how exciting it is for them to see these players, and what an honor it is for them to be on the floor in this situation, just like it is for us, to be here back calling volleyball. It's been a great 3 days in Winnipeg. That one just long. And Alberta starting, I think down a few points, but they're getting a little bit flustered, feeling like a couple things are going their way. But from what I could tell, that one was long.
And that's the composure piece that you just can't lose. If I know things might not be going your way, or you may have a difference of opinion in some calls, and those things can begin to compound, but you can't let it shake your execution or your focus on the things that matter, which is always the next play or the next opportunity you have to play the ball. So it just seems like Alberta might be getting a little bit too wrapped up in the officiating here. They just need to reel it back, control what they can control, which is their contacts on their side of the floor.
13-8 as Isaiah Olfert was subbed into the game there for his serving sub role, but was unable to come up with it, put it into the net. Still a 5-point lead though for the Spartans here in set number 2. Dynam serve goes into the net. And Trinity works their way towards an advantage at this technical timeout. It's funny, when I was coaching with U of M, we used to have the 8-point technical timeout and the 16, and it's crazy to just think about how many times there were to slow the match up and extend it, and the games were just getting too long. And I think it's a good change, just having one at 16. That ball's kept alive. Elser, left side, continued. Middle attack there from Howe, tipped over, dug up by Canham, outside Haslinga. Diving save there by Elser. And it's his older brother Jesse Elser who finishes it off 15-8. And some raw emotion there between Jesse Elser and Brody Hofer.
Two enormous digs from Hofer in that rally, and we see maybe a bit of an adjustment from Coach Josephson as we've seen that position 6 defender slide back door. And what that means is rather than kind of playing cross court on the outside attack, that position 6 defender is sliding about 2 meters to their right, getting almost behind the blocker who's up the line. And we've seen Alberta scoring consistently in that zone, but in that rally, Hofer makes that adjustment. He slides to his right, and he's able to extend that rally twice with 2 digs right in that position. So that's fantastic, adjusting on the fly. And when you're such a high-level team playing against such a high competition, those are the adjustments you need to make, and they need to be made while the game is happening.
So Trinity has a chance to serve into the technical timeout, and they're going to do it right there with the service ace. And this set number 2 has been all Spartans as they now lead 16-8 as they attempt to tie this match up at 1 set apiece. The best in men's basketball action takes us to the hardwood next weekend in the U Sports Men's Basketball Final 8 presented by the Weston Edmonton. With upsets abound in the conference playoffs, who will capture the WP McGee Trophy? Find out next weekend. The U Sports Final 8 Men's Basketball Championship on CBCSports.ca and CBC Gem. You know, something I've been wanting to bring up now for a couple points, just watching this set go through and watching Jesse Elster play, because he's so smooth and, you know, he's a bit, he's not really, I guess I would say maybe he's a little thicker. He's deceptively huge. You know, he's 6'8", and the way he moves at 6'8", it just doesn't really seem to make sense that he's that big. And, you know, I think sometimes as guys get taller, they also get thinner. And, you know, for him, he looks like he's kind of a solid 6'4", 6'5", and you look down at the program and you look his heights compared to other guys on the court, 6'8". I mean, that's a huge man on the left side.
Yeah, and I think the movement piece that you mentioned, Jared, is the biggest factor. Is he's not kind of clunky out there, or he, like you mentioned, he's so smooth. And what an advantage that is if you can have a 6'8" player block and navigate the backcourt as fluidly as he does. It's just such an advantage for your roster.
Derek Epp, that one goes just long out of the timeout. Sailed a little bit too much. 16-9. I think if you're Alberta, I don't think you, obviously at this level, we're never giving up. We've had these discussions throughout the course of the weekend about how sometimes in tennis, maybe you kind of can sacrifice some games sometimes, and you know you can work your way through into the next set. But I think for them, they just got to try to get back to some of that execution that they really had a good job of in the first set, as we see the Alberta defense trying to track that one down, but it's going to be a 4 hits violation. They just seem to have lost their rhythm a little bit here in set number 2, and Trinity has picked up their intensity a little bit as well. Trinity Western was starting to celebrate there a little bit, and the old fake out. We've all been there, especially in our earlier days coaching and playing volleyball, where somebody keeps the ball alive and the other team is already celebrating and they score a point. But these players are a little more in tune, obviously, at this level. Interesting there, we saw the down official, Matt Van Rolte, calling a net violation, but the up official, Andrew Robb, calling it the other way. So I guess he's going to say that Alberta was on the net first.
Doesn't seem to be too much of a disagreement from the Alberta side. So obviously that call was made closer to the head official, so he probably had the better line of vision to override his down official.
Nice diving save there by Max Elgert. Colton Lowen with the free ball pass. Middle attack, Jackson Howe. We haven't said his name a ton in set number 2, but when he was called upon there, he finished that one off with some style.
A lot of pressure being applied by the Spartans to the Golden Bears serve receivers, and we saw them do a fantastic job in the first set, passing the ball, and especially when, I guess, there was a very heavy serve coming their way, they didn't try to be too perfect with it. They would settle for a pass high into the middle of the court to allow them to still keep that tempo offense to the outside. But unfortunately, the Golden Bears haven't even been able to get those quality passes off of the pressure from the Spartans. They've been spraying balls outside the court, and it's really slowed down the offense of the Golden Bears. And that's when the height and athleticism of the Trinity Western Spartans block can take over, and I think that has been the real key to the Spartans' success here in this second set.
You know, it's interesting, I think this happens in all sports, but, you know, where sometimes your strength can make the other team look bad, right? So when you are playing well, can really make the other team struggle. Sometimes they can both just be really good, right? So sometimes you see a match where everybody's executing at a really high level. The first set, I think, was an example of both teams, really high execution, back and forth. I don't think anybody really outplayed each other through most of the stages. Alberta finds a way to pull it out here at the end. In the second set, Trinity, I think their level of play has stayed pretty consistent from what it was in the first set, but they've gotten Alberta out of their rhythm, like you mentioned, and that's what leads to a big advantage like this. But at the end of the day, it's likely going to be heading towards a 1-1 situation, or becomes a best of 3 from that point on. But it's amazing how quickly that can change and how it can come back too. And it just it's a funny little sport that way sometimes, where if you kind of are watching, you get too caught up in what happens in one individual set, and a lot of times it doesn't really carry over. As we see another big kill there from Jackson Howe. He's going to be subbed out, and coming in will be their serving sub, Tate Callis. We saw him in the first set get an ace. He's actually from Anacortes, Washington. Spent some time with the USA Junior National Team. Tough jump float. Elgert all the way back to Canham. And a diving up, unable to come up with the ball. 22-11.
Great fix from the Golden Bears, and that's the pass that they've been looking for this entire set, is just to get it inside the 3-meter line, allow Elgert to be dynamic with his set selection, get the tempo back up with the offense. We see a one-on-one attack versus block there, and that makes the attacker's life so much simpler when you have 2 hands in front of you instead of 4.
Graydon Weeb has checked in to serve now for the Golden Bears. And his jump float taken there by Lowen. Yep, middle, Schnitzer. And Schnitzer continues to, just like you said, effective, efficient, whatever word it is you want to use. He has been fantastic today.
He is up so early on that attack, Jared. The delivery and the timing from Epp to Schnitzer is less than half a second, and that is why he can be so successful, as that block just doesn't have the time to get on the other side of the net and put it down on for a block. So it just makes it so difficult when the tempo of that middle set is so fast.
So we saw this look in the first set, but we didn't get a chance to really get too much time with it, as Matthias Elser missed his serve in the first set. But this time here, he does put the serve in play. Alberta finishes it off with a block. But what they did have happen there was substitution. Corey Schoenherr checked in, stayed into the middle for Epp, and it was Schnitzer who split outside to the left, and Matthias Elser was going to be the setter. We're curious to see what they'll do here going forward, but I have to make mention, this is the rule, and the score was 21-12. I do have to acknowledge my favorite score in all of volleyball. That's a classic Rush album, and it's just incredible how often that score comes up. It's not like the album is called 16-15. It's 21-12. We shouldn't see that score as much as we do, but that's what makes it probably so special. But that serve goes into the net, so 10-point lead restored, 22-12 now, Trinity. Brody Hofer to go after that one, and he gets a service ace. 23-12 now for the Spartans.
Now, Jared, Alberta is clearly down and out here in this second set, but now it becomes a best of 3, as you mentioned earlier here. I don't know if we necessarily expected this to be such an easy kind of second set in terms of the score, as we see another service ace from the Trinity Western side. What is going to be the message to the Alberta Golden Bears from Coach Davidoff after such a kind of disappointing second set?
Yeah, I think you really just want to stress the positivity and just let the guys know, hey, it doesn't matter how we played in that second set, as we've seen how it ends up being 25-12, but the fact that it's tied 1-1, we got our one set, they got theirs. Now we just got to get a receive back going. We'll be right back in this match, and I fully expect we'll see a much more competitive third set after we step aside. You are watching U Sports Volleyball, brought to you by Mikasa on CBC.
The nominees for the Dale Iwanashko Award, who exhibits outstanding achievement in 3 areas, volleyball, academics, and community involvement, are les candidats pour le prix Dale Iwanashko en tant qu'étudiant athlète qui se distingue dans 3 domaines. Le volleyball, les études et l'implication dans la communauté sont du Réseau du sport étudiant du Québec, from the RSEQ, Scott Mann, University of New Brunswick. Du sport universitaire de l'Ontario, from the OUA, Amit Sayal, Western University. Et de l'Association Ouest Canadienne, from Canada West, Darian Picklick, University of Winnipeg. Le lauréat du prix Dale Iwanashko pour l'engagement communautaire est, the winner of the Dale Iwanashko Award for Community Service is, Darian Picklick, University of Winnipeg. Cette manche vous est présentée par, this set is brought to you by, Mikasa, le ballon officiel de U-Sport, the official game ball of U-Sports.
Welcome back inside the Investors Group Athletic Center on the University of Manitoba campus. You are watching the 2022 U Sports Men's Volleyball National Championship presented by Mikasa on CBC. And it's a pleasure to have you here with us this afternoon for what has been some fantastic volleyball. It was Alberta who took the opener, and then Trinity answered back with a big set number 2 win themselves. And just before we get back to the action, Adam, I want to just make quickly mention of the Dale Iwanashko Award winner, Darian Picklick. Played with the University of Winnipeg, a player that you and I both know quite well. And, you know, it's quite interesting to see somebody that you know receive that award, because it's not only requiring you to be a great player, but also a fantastic student and a strong member of the community. And, you know, Darian is just a great young man and somebody who is a very worthy recipient of that award. And pretty neat, too, to see Scott Mann from UNB, who also is from Winnipeg, and have 2 of the 3 guys who somebody who's come through the local scene here in Winnipeg. What a great honor, and an award that's named after the late Dr. Dale Iwanashko, who played for the University of Manitoba and was a fantastic setter and volleyball player and just person all around. And there's a few scholarships in his name in the Manitoba community, and I'm sure it means a lot to those young men to receive that recognition. So job well done by them.
Absolutely. That's always great to see a local kid win that award. I believe the last one to do it was in 2017 when another Manitoba Bison, was Ken Rooney, capturing that national recognition. And it just means a lot for the volleyball community in Manitoba, as Dale was such a polarizing figure, and to have someone kind of step up and win that award locally, it really means a lot.
Yeah, and I wish there was more video of that era. You know, Dale Iwanashko, if there was some YouTube games, hopefully maybe you can find them somewhere, I'm not too sure. But fantastic setter for the University of Manitoba, and moved on from volleyball to take up a career in medicine, and then untimely lost him way too soon. And I know his friends and former teammates, there's still, I think, a golf tournament that, you know, they do in his honor, and his family was here this weekend to present that award to Darian, and very cool to see that happen. So job well done by them. But we do have a fantastic match here. It's tied 1 set apiece as we're going to get ready to start set number 3. And it will be Jesse Elser who will put the serve in play for the Spartans, but he actually does put it into the net. Maybe I jinxed him on that one there. So first point of the 3rd set does go to Alberta. Serve blown into play, and I think if you're Alberta, obviously you're looking to get out to a hot start, get some momentum, get some things going back your way, and really try to lock back into the way they played in that first set, as Brody Hofer, big time swing off the Alberta block and into the bleachers.
Beautiful overload run by the Spartans offense there. That pass is right on the money, and that allows them to just gently float that ball over top of the middle blocker. Full commitment from the Golden Bears middle, and that is a one-on-one, a gift. Thank you, courtesy of Derek Epp.
You know, and I think, I'm not going to go too crazy on this because it's only 2 serves, but if you're the Alberta serve receive and the way they struggled in that second set, getting 2 early misses from the Spartans, it's not going to hurt. It's not going to put them back into any kind of rhythm with the receive, but at least just kind of keeps the points moving along a little bit, and then maybe they can earn a couple points on their serve. But if Trinity keeps answering back like that with the kill from Elser, this game is going to stay very, very close.
Colton Lowen, we haven't said his name a whole lot tonight. I think defensively it's been the block of the Spartans that has been kind of dominating. but his serve receive has been very spot on, and that's just another example of a great pass from him as Trinity follows it up with 3 serves and 3 errors here to start. And as a Golden Bear passer, I think you really need to breathe a sigh of relief seeing this, maybe knowing that Trinity's trying to do a bit too much perhaps with their serve right now, and especially coming off of the second set where they were struggling to pass the Spartans' serves. It's maybe nice just for them to be able to settle more into this third set, not having to worry about the struggles they were having on serve receive.
Ulster goes back to Hofer, and Billy Johnstone unable to come up with that dig off of the block. Side out for Trinity, and Hofer will go back to serve, tied 3-3.
Now Hofer did close that second set for the Spartans with 3 consecutive aces. We'll see if he can be the answer to their serving woes here to start the third.
Hofer serve taken there by Curry. Algert goes up to get it, and Graydon Weeb cuts it back, and the referee is going to say that ball was down. So interesting, we talked about Weeb kind of starting some of the games the first 2 nights, and then serving and then getting subbed out, coming back into serve again, and tonight only has been the serving sub. We'll be curious to see, obviously I think he'll leave him across the front row and he'll serve, but when he comes back to the front row, if Coach Davidic will go back to dine him, or if this is now just a substitution, letting Weeb have this third set to start here, something to keep an eye on. Canham serve, sails long, 4-4. You know, I think it's obviously nice as you look at both rosters. There's so much depth for both teams, but you know, sometimes that can be, you know, it's a curse and a blessing, right? When you have so many good players, you want to try to find ways to keep them engaged and keep them activated and involved. And it makes for some great practices, obviously, but it can be difficult sometimes because you know, you aren't necessarily able to get everybody into play. And I think both coaches to this point have done a really good job of using their bench in some different situations, as we see Canham come out of the back row and convert 5-4. But it is such a difficult sport in that you don't have shifts, right? You can't have run 6 guys in, 6 guys out, and have little, you know, situational things. Is really one chance. You get in to serve one time, and that's basically all you really get. And it can make things a lot more difficult to keep everybody involved. But I've been so impressed with all of the teams here this tournament, just the activation level from the guys who aren't on the court. And it's so important, and another good lesson. I think a lot of times we're trying to do some teaching while we're on here too, as we see a good rally. I'll come back to that thought after that. As Ulster comes out of the back row, dug up by Canham. Outside to Slinga. Oh, good job there by the Spartans defense to keep it alive. Ball is passed real tight. Elger goes up to get it, but Haslinga uses the block of up and out of bounds. So I just want to finish my own thought. But, you know, for all those young players who are out there watching, the more you stay involved when you're not on the court, the easier it is for the coach to look at you and want to put you on the court, and the easier time you will have once you do get subbed in for a role to feel like you're part of the match instead of just sitting down there and kind of feeling sorry for yourself that you're not on the team. We all know you're at every practice, you're working hard, you're going through all the same drills everybody else is. It's just these 6 players' chance to play. And speaking of players who have a chance to play, Jackson Howe, I think, is going to have many opportunities in his future to play this sport of volleyball.
I would agree with you there, and this is just another textbook run. He's on time, he's way up there in that straight over top of the block, but Alberta's doing a great job trying to read block, not committing on the middle and jumping immediately with him, but perhaps there needs to be an adjustment there considering Howe and Schnitzer have both been so effective.
That serve from F goes long, and good chance for me to ask you this question. Jackson Howe, listed at 6'5" in the program, you know, which by international standards is a little bit undersized for the middle, but with his leaping ability, you know, do you think, like, I guess it's not really a question, more so just of a thought, but it'll be interesting to see how far he can go at that next level once he's done at the university stage. Just such a unique combination of skills that he has.
I'd imagine he's got a very dynamic pro career ahead of him if that's what he chooses to do.
You see a big block there. Haslinga, Johnstone, Elger teaming up, the big 3-man block for the Golden Bears. And I think if you're Coach Davidic, you see Liam Esposito with the big celebration on the replay here. Great job by that Alberta Golden Bears block. But this is the start you needed after what happened in set number 2 and just getting things going. And you got to look to those first 3-4 serves for the Spartans. You wonder, could they have applied some pressure right away, kind of let them off the hook a little bit, and now Alberta has settled back into a bit more of a groove like we saw in the first set, and they get a service ace of their own. And this is the point I was making in that second set, how quickly things can change. Now it seems like Trinity who's kind of the one who is struggling.
It just really amplifies how important the first contact is in the sport of volleyball, especially when you're at this high of a level. If the service pressure is overwhelming, it becomes really difficult to score any points from the offensive side. But if you're passing really, really well, it becomes so simple, and the offense and the ability to score becomes really, really easy. And I think that's kind of the script. The script has been flipping back and forth for each team.
Canham out of the back row, goes off the block and into the bleachers, and I just think this is wild. The first set, there really wasn't anything separating the two teams. It was back and forth. Maybe, you know, the 3-point lead at the end that they won by was the biggest gap there probably was the whole set. Then we have Trinity leading 10-5 in set number 2. They win fairly handily. Alberta now leading 10-5 in set number 3. You'll be curious to see where these next few points go as we work our way through this best-of-5 match. Elser, nice pass. They go back row to Hofer and down the line. Looks like the Alberta Golden Bears block was also on the net. And you see Hofer just telling the guys, hey, let's go, right? Keep moving forward here.
Excellent stuff from Graydon Weeb there. I mean, he was the server there to put 4 points in a row for Alberta's side, and we know he kind of does that split time with Dynam, and he really is playing his role very well. You can't ask for much more in that situation.
Johnstone looks to kind of power tip that ball, but it's blocked back to the Alberta side, covered, kept alive, and then Hislinga finds the hands and down. 11-6 Golden Bears.
We'll get another look at this one, but it's a big triple block, and Hislinga, he just snaps that ball over top. Not a lot of pace on that ball, but when the position 6 defender has to kind of hide behind the block when there's 3 blockers there, it leaves a little bit of gaps deep into the court, and Hislinga finds one nicely there, followed up unfortunately by a service error for the Golden Bears.
So the interesting thing about what's happened obviously in our world we don't need to rehash all the details, but with last season there not being any matches, it was, I wouldn't say a full season of training, because a lot of provinces, you know, we were shut down, weren't able to get in gyms, but there was training, right? Teams were together at certain times, and they had the ability to, almost like a red shirt, we'll say. So Hislinga, who's with his 2nd season with the team, is only in his 1st season of eligibility. It's going to be interesting to see how that affects players who are coming in over the next couple of years. With these players, they kind of almost become super seniors, I guess is kind of the term sometimes, where they can play that extra year. And obviously there's an academic component to that too, where they might be done their schooling before their eligibility runs out. But what an advantage, I guess my point is, what an advantage for those players before they have to play under the bright lights as a first-year player of eligibility, that they had that full season of kind of getting used to the climate of it, and now this year, you know, using up that first season of eligibility themselves. So the wrinkle effect of that, I think we won't really know for quite a few years what the impact will be. But what I do know is right here, right now, we have a fantastic match, and Jordan Canham, nice kill there on the right, 13-8 Alberta.
Alberta has completely settled back in. Their serve-receive is dynamic right now, and that's the adjustment they needed to make, really, Jared. In that 2nd set, I didn't see a lot of negativity or problems, let's say, for the Golden Bears side, other than their serve-receive. And as a coach, I'm sure Davidic was very pleased to just say, hey, if we pass the ball, things will go back our way, and we've seen that happen here in the 3rd, but it is Schnitzer and that ridiculous shoulder of his hitting this angle for another kill out of the middle.
Great shot there. See, Graydon Weeb was up, and we'd asked the question of what would Coach Davidic do with that middle position, and I guess the answer for now is Graydon Weeb is just playing full-time in the middle as he tries to keep that ball alive off the errant pass from Hislinga, but it's going to be a service ace for the Spartans and Brody Hofer.
This is the guy you want to have the ball in their hand from the service line if you're the Spartan side. He is probably one of their more dynamic servers. I mean, it's quite a long list to choose from, but he has had one heck of a game from the service line as we see the Golden Bears in trouble again.
They're just going to be putting a high ball over, and that's the risk that you take when you play that short free ball like that. When you have a big-time setter like Derek Epp, he was wise to that one. He was waiting for it, and then the Alberta Golden Bears block actually ended up just being on the net.
We do see that occasionally in the pro leagues, Jared, where they choose to set into a joust situation and kind of battle that ball rather than giving the free ball exclusively over to the other side, allowing them to run their tempo offense. So I don't necessarily mind that option. As we saw, Alberta did actually dig that ball. If Graydon Weeb wasn't on the net, they almost transitioned a free ball into a free ball for themselves immediately. So kind of an interesting dynamic there. I don't hate that play.
I don't want to go too far into the weeds, but this is a great opportunity. Just one of my favorite plays I can ever remember from my 5 years for coaching the University of Manitoba. My first year, we were playing in a tournament in Hawaii. I mean, that in itself was a great opportunity, but we were playing Penn State, and it was the last match of the round robin. They were a really strong team, and it was, at that point, NCAA was playing to 30. So I think it was 33-32 for us. So it's not too crazy. We're not that many extra points, but one of our middles on match point gets a free ball, and he passes the free ball right back over the net to their big middle, but he immediately realizes he's passed it too tight, so he just runs up to the net as he's basically passed it, runs up, blocks the guy, wins the game, and tells everybody that's exactly what I meant to do. In a funny way to end off a match as we get back to live action here after the timeout. And Derek Epp again at the net. And the perk of having a great big setter like that at the net is he can be an offensive weapon for you too. So it's a ball game. And that ball taken there by Curry. Elgert on the run, goes all the way back to Canham. Canham is able to find his way through the block and down, and Alberta needed that side out to manage.
Phenomenal set from Elgert there. He goes the grain. He is on the move over to position 4, but he's able to go all the way behind him, sideline to perfect position for Canham. That is just experience, skill on full display from Elgert.
That serve goes into the net. Welcome back, everybody. We just were experiencing some technical difficulties, but we are back now live and just in time to see Alberta take a 16-14 lead into the technical timeout in set number 3. Our apologies for that, but we should be good moving forward. Canada's top women's basketball players head to Kingston, Ontario for the U Sports Final 8 Championship. Can the Saskatchewan Huskies defend their title, or will there be a new champion? Find out next weekend. The U Sports Final 8 Women's Basketball Championship on cbcsports.ca and CBC Gem. So this is shaping into now a very competitive set. Trinity has clawed their way back into it with some good serving there from Brody Hofer, but that's exactly what I expected. And now hopefully maybe we're heading towards what we've wanted all along, which is just really back and forth, intense side-out volleyball.
I know you mentioned pre-game, Jared, about the history between these two programs in national finals, and it is the 5th time these programs have met This is split 2 wins for the Alberta Golden Bears, 2 wins for the Trinity Western University Spartans, and how fitting or almost poetic it could be if this match goes to 5 sets. To ultimately, the volleyball matches are played to 5 sets. This is the 5th matchup. Could we see 5 sets to decide it all? We would love that as storytellers here. So you never know, but it definitely seems like this 3rd set is shaping up to be a tight one.
Yeah, absolutely. We're actually seeing an outer rotation call there by the Spartans. Not something we see too often at this level, but interestingly enough, we actually have seen it a handful of times over the course of the tournament. Looks like we just had, they were just out of line there. So 17-15. It will be Cam Kern once again serving for the Golden Bears. Passed up there by Elser. Epp on the run. Elser looking for the hands but doesn't find them. So a little mini run here now by Alberta, 18-15. And we are going to see a timeout by Coach Josephson with his team falling behind by 3 points in set number 3. So you mentioned, I think, which is a great point, but they said it's the 5th time they're playing in the national championship game, dating back to 2005. I was at that match. It was in Laval, very competitive, big win for Alberta. Then the next year, I wouldn't say it was shocking that Trinity Western won. The teams had battled each other all season long, but in the fashion that they won, they really were quite dominant. 3-0 at McMaster that year. It's crazy to think that is, it goes back 17 years. And Ron Pike was still the head coach at that point in time with Trinity Western. Ben Josephson was assistant and then moved into that role later on. And Alberta had their big run, back-to-back national finals against Winnipeg, lost one and came back, won the next one the next year. And the 2 programs are kind of circling around each other for a few years there. And they met up again in 15, like we said, in Saskatchewan. And then 17 in the game Alberta competing at with the University of Manitoba, and haven't played since. And the opportunities have been there. They've played each other in many semifinals over the years, but a few other teams have come into the picture and won, and changed up some of the games I think a lot we were going to see. But here they are now in 2022 playing. And this might quite be, if this is the 5th time they're going to play each other, playing a best of 5, does that mean we might get a best of 7 if they play each other again in the future? I don't think anybody would be too disappointed to see volleyball, but for now, it is Trinity who is trying to work their back into set number 3, down by 2 points. And it is Derek Epp who will serve. Passed up there by Curry. Middle attack, Graydon Weave, and I think that's the first time we've seen him get a swing this match.
Absolutely, I think you're right there, Jared, and I really like the selection from Elgert to go to him despite it being later in this set. You can almost catch the defense off guard, and I don't think Trinity was necessarily expecting that set selection from Elgert, catching the blockers with low hands and on their heels in the backcourt. No movement from them, and that's just, again, credit to Elgert's volleyball IQ. He understands how to facilitate an offense at a high level and catch the defense off guard in gaining any advantage he can.
Graydon Weave serve taken there by Jesse Elser. Quick overload set to the outside, and that's Matthias Elser with the kill. But Trinity does still trail by 2 points. So we get a great look there. Howe coming in for the 30, quickly outside to Elser. How difficult is that for the blockers and the defense, Adam?
It is, and we've talked about it already, Jared. It appears that Alberta has now switched to commit blocking on the middle. They are jumping with the middle. If it is a good pass, they're allowing the one-on-ones on the outside. And again, that gives up a lot defensively, but at the same time, when they weren't committing on that middle block, it was pretty automatic for Trinity. So there's always give and take. That's kind of the devil's in the details here when you're trying to figure out such high-powered offenses, and you just got to hope they're not passing the ball as well as they have been.
So 20-17. Alberta leading. Diving save there by Matthias Elser. All the way back across. And that ball, sorry, my mistake. The ball was passed up by Hofer, and that's Matthias Elser who puts the attack into the net. My apologies there. And it's now a 4-point advantage, which prompts Coach Josephson to call timeout. 21-17 Alberta in set number 3.
You mentioned that the Spartans have such a positive outlook on every situation they approach, whether they're up, whether they're trailing, it doesn't really matter. They seem to be approaching things the same way. this may be the first time I have seen in this tournament that I'm seeing a little bit of negative body language from the Spartans. And maybe it's the fact that they're trailing fairly significantly here in this third set, and they know the magnitude of this third set. It's one set apiece, and going ahead 2-1 can definitely sway one side's, I guess, momentum, let's say, and just outlook on the match, knowing that you need to run the table and win the last two if you are not successful in this third set. So I'm a little surprised to see that, but I'm sure that the culture and just the positivity and the familiarity of the Spartans in situations like this, that body language won't last for long. I think the biggest piece right now to break that is this point coming out of this timeout.
So out of the timeout, Alberta serves. Passed up there by Hofer. Epp goes back to the outside, and he puts it down with authority. And, you know, interesting thought just for something here that's a little bit different about this season with the way the conference schedule was set up and a lack of preseason and tournament play and whatnot. You got to think these teams are a little bit less battle tested as far as, you know, haven't seen as much adversity, right? I think Trinity only lost the one game all season in league play, and, you know, some of those games where I don't think you ever want to lose, as we see a great save there by Curry and a free ball opportunity coming for Trinity Western, but just being in that situation where, you know, you are down a little bit and you have lost, as Schnitzer once again converts in the middle, you know, those are experiences you can draw back upon, right? And this year for this particular group, you know, they just might not have been in as many of those scenarios, and I'd be curious to see, you know, whoever goes down at this point, whoever goes down 2-1 here, how they'll respond, as this game is very much hanging in the balance right now with Alberta up 2 points in set number 3, and whoever can take these next handful of points here is going to put themselves in a great position, as Schnitzer is trying, and he's quite upset. Now there's a little bit of jockeying back and forth there. I think he thought it was in, then he thought the ref called it out, and then now they're calling it in once again. And I do believe the ball was in, despite the confusion from the Alberta bench, but I think that was the right call. And my guess is the referee just accidentally maybe pointed to the wrong side, which throws the half of the gym into complete pandemonium, and then the other half of the gym reacts the exact same way when he says, sorry, I pointed the wrong way. But what we have here now with Tate Callis on the service line is a 21-20 game for Alberta, and Trinity trying to tie this thing up here right now, but Billy Johnstone not going to let that happen at this moment as they go back to a 2-point lead, and Liam Esposito continues to try to be all first team bench reaction for the weekend, as he is always fired up for his teammates after a big point.
Landon Curry is really finding his groove right now, Jared. Any ball that is going to him in serve receive, he is locked and loaded, putting it right where it needs to be. Unfortunate that it's followed up by a service error from his side, but really got to credit him. It was something that they struggled with in that second set. He has definitely taken the onus upon himself to change that tide, and he's stepping up in a big way for his Golden Bears side so far.
So Spartans trailing by 1. Matthias Elser on the service line. Passed up there by Curry. Canham on the right. Curry there with the cover. Elgert outside to Kern, and they're going to say, I believe Alberta was on the net. And Kern looked like he almost slipped a little bit on that ball there too. Maybe a center line violation even. Not quite totally sure what happened, but the end result is a 22-22 score in set number 3, as Trinity continues to work their way back into this after being down multiple points on multiple occasions. Out of the back row, Heslinga, huge swing, 23-22, and Billy Johnstone with a big show of emotion there, trying to get his team to the finish line in this third set.
Can't say enough about Elgert's confidence in his lineup and his set selection. We haven't seen them go to the pipe very much, but when you need a side out, he has that trust and that connection with Heslinga out of the backcourt, and it catches the Trinity defense completely off guard.
With all due respect to the first 45 points of this set, this is the points we really want to see, right? How are these teams going to respond at the end with Alberta leading by 1? Great pass, Schnitzer dug up, great save in the back row, ball's jousted to the net, Hofer keeps it alive, and they go back to Schnitzer, but this time he's blocked, and it's Canham and Weeb teaming up. That might be the first time we've really seen Schnitzer stopped this whole match.
I agree, it definitely is, and at a crucial time. He actually almost picked that up and kept it alive, but nonetheless, we've got ourselves a set point for the Golden Bears.
So now we will see that substitution that Coach Josephson has used in the first 2 sets. I was going to make mention of that with Matthias Elser serving, that he didn't go to it, but he will go for it in this situation here to see if they can steal a point back. 24-22 Golden Bears. Passed up there by Hofer. Matthias Elser outside to Schnitzer, and Schnitzer gets right back on the good foot with the kill on the left side. And Alberta still has a set point opportunity. They lead 24-23. We're going to see a substitution on both sides. But what a play by Graydon Weeb in the middle, right? We said how he's been kind of using that serving sub role. Coach Davidoff has elected to keep him out there for this set, and he makes the first stop on Schnitzer this whole game. And then a service ace for the Spartans. Brody Hofer answering the bell, 24-24.
Hofer just seems to heat up at the end of sets from the service line, Jared. He closed out that second set with 3 consecutive aces. He comes up with a huge ace here in the third. It's just immaculate how he can have so much confidence and so much power at such an important time in the set, coming up big.
So that's a veteran move there by the Golden Bears. They get the floor clean first and then call the timeout, just stretching this thing out a little bit longer if they can, make the Spartans think about it a little bit longer. But I mean, this really has been Alberta, in control from the beginning, and Trinity constantly working their way to get back into it, continually clawing back. And Alberta had set point opportunities, weren't able to convert, and now we're tied up 24-24, and this is truly anybody's set at this point.
It is, and I think it's all about game management at this time right now, Jared. It's a race to 2. And it really is going to come down to who can keep their emotions in check, who can keep the execution high. And a lot of that is going to come with, you're going to see these players go and grab a towel. They're going to get every little advantage they can to just slow the pace, slow their heart rates, keep their emotions in check. And those are just experienced athletes working and honing their craft in the big stage.
First to 2, win by 2. That's the drill we're playing right now. It's a good one to practice. Let's see who's able to convert. Hofer passed up real high there by Cam Curran. Curry's going to give a bump set, but nobody unable to attack it, but it still puts Trinity in a little bit of trouble. Outside to Jesse Elser. He had the look, and he hits it wide. Oh, no. Set point opportunity back to the Golden Bears.
And that's exactly what we just mentioned, Jared. It's going to come down to keeping a little bit of a gut check and keeping the execution high, and perhaps Elser salivating on that one-on-one attempt. He sees there's only one blocker in front of him, maybe getting a little on top of the ball, a little too aggressive. And what do we see here? It's a towel. Did anybody hit the floor over there? I'm not sure. Does it matter? Absolutely not. They need to slow the pace. They need to have a little conversation and just kind of reset themselves. This is just the best athletes in men's volleyball in the country, operating not just from the volleyball side, but the game management side as well.
So here we go, 25-24 Alberta, another set point opportunity. Canham on the line. Big serve, and he gets a service ace! Alberta, 26-24, what a huge point. After they tried to freeze him out on the service line, he comes through, and Alberta now leads 2-1 in this gold medal match of the 2022 U Sports Men's Volleyball National Championship. You're watching, brought to you by Macassa on CBC.
Where exceptional student athletes are born, where records are broken, where great plays are made, where school colors ignite passion, where champions prevail, where tradition is celebrated, Ontario University Athletics.
Get the stories behind the glory. Watch, listen, stream, read CBC Sports.
It's that moment again. The one you dream of every night. La seule chose qui te préoccupe, c'est la gloire. Le cheminement de la réussite. Of pushing yourself further than ever before. But the true glory is in the shadows. Les sacrifices que tu fais, quand toutes les chances sont contre toi, when you can't push one more second, chase the glory. Visez haut.
Cette manche vous est présentée par. This set is brought to you by Mikasa, le ballon officiel de U-Sport, the official game ball of U-Sports.
Welcome back inside the Investors Group Athletic Center on the University of Manitoba campus. It's Jared Brown, it's Adam Bianchi here. We've been here all tournament long, and we're getting treated to the best match of the weekend, which is what you'd expect in the gold medal game. And it's Alberta who pulls it out there in set number 3. They now lead 2-1. What does Trinity Western need to do to get this to a 5th and deciding set?
It's a difficult question, Jared, because I think they did a lot of really great things in that third set. Unfortunately, just coming up a little bit short, but it was the passing of Alberta that got really tidy as that third set progressed. I think Trinity Western is doing a fantastic job from the service line. The Golden Bears are just answering the bell. So ultimately, what can you do if your serving is as aggressive as it can be? You have to find ways to score in transition. So I think they need to get a little bit tidier on their block. Perhaps they corral their hands a little bit differently, try and corral these attacks from the Golden Bears offense more into the court. We're seeing a lot of the hands being used off the block and into the bleachers or outside the court. Perhaps there can be a slight adjustment made by the block of the Spartans to try and allow their defense to pick things up, extend a few more rallies, and we know they're more than capable to put balls away in transition.
So I think if you're a fan of the Golden Bears, you're going to disagree with this statement. I think you'd be happy to win set number 4 and be done with this match and be national champions. But I think for everybody out there who is watching, who's enjoying the high level of play, they wouldn't hate seeing a 5th set and seeing this two fantastic teams battle it out one more time. But we'll see what these two teams have to say about that, as it's Graydon Weeb who puts the first serve into play, and then out of the back row, Jesse Elser's attack goes long. And I don't want to speculate too much. Just something tiny that I noticed. You know, I'm a details guy. I know I look at these things. But on the Trinity Western bench, at that last time out in the third set, they were doing some work on Jesse Elser's back. And they really seemed to kind of work on it. And I'm just curious if he's having some issues maybe. You know, I'm not totally sure. But just something to kind of keep an eye on here. As part of being a big man, obviously, it's a lot of impact on that body. We have a big frame like that, but he's playing fantastic. Just something to kind of for us to keep an eye on.
It is a little bit scary to hear you say that, Jared, and I'm glad you picked that up because I did not, but he does have a history of some back injuries. That is what kind of sidelined him for a year earlier in his career. So you hate to see a player of any caliber, but on the biggest stage right now, you just really hope that's not an ailment that he's battling right now.
Yeah, absolutely. So Graydon Weeb, who played that entire third set and now gets the opportunity to start off with the serve, gets rewarded with a big-time block by his middle compatriot, Billy Johnstone, who shuts down Schnitzer, and he's been so good all day long, all night long, but a big block at the end of the third set, and now blocking him here to start the fourth.
And that's the commit blocking of Alberta. We saw Johnstone up before the set was even made. He's just worrying about his responsibility only, and that's why he was able to pick up that block.
Play continues, Canham out of the back row, and right now it's all Golden Bears. It seems like they've taken that energy and they've taken that big finish in the third set, and they've really been able to roll this through into the fourth, as it's a 4-0 advantage early on. Got to think if Trinity isn't able to side out here, we could see a timeout coming, as you don't want to fall behind by 5 points, even at the earliest stages of this set. But Brody Hofer, Mr. Reliable, I think this guy, I'm excited to see where his career goes over the next few years, as he has just been so solid all weekend long, and his whole career really, right from the get-go, as soon as he stepped into this Spartans team. And I think no matter who you're a fan of, no matter, maybe you're just tuning in just because you love volleyball, you don't have one side one way or the other. As we see a service ace there from the Spartans, so a nice little response. But I think if you're a fan of volleyball in Canada, you are excited about all of these young, great players who will be working their way through the system over the next couple of years. And there truly are so many amazing prospects, not just on these two teams, but all of the teams in the country. Bell passed off the net, and it's tipped over by Hislinga. Johnson's going to take the free ball. Back to Hislinga. Blocked by Epp, but covered by the Golden Bears. Now they go Schnitzer in the middle. Dug up there by Canham. Big dig by Lowen cross court. Hofer, three-man block. And Epp got a piece that might have been going out of bounds, but it's almost impossible to leave that block when it's flying at you like that. So to be out for Alberta.
Huge triple block, and it's positioned so well. That ball's left ever so slightly inside on the Trinity attack, but the block adjusts nicely. They take up every inch of real estate Hofer with, and he's just swallowed up.
That serve just wide. So I think if you're Trinity, you know, still a long ways to go, but you avoided falling behind 5-0. Now you got it back to a 2-point game, and it's a little bit less of a tough situation here with only being 2 points. If they can steal one here, get this back to a 1-point game, start getting into a bit of a routine, I think we're going to see a really competitive fourth set here. And with Hofer on the service line, that's the guy you want to call upon. Elgert goes all the way back to Hislinga, and he goes off the block. It's a nice shot there by the first year outside.
Beautiful swing there, and he takes a big breath. He knows he's in a very big moment that he has never been to before. He's never been in a U Sports national final, but he is definitely answering the bell. He's keeping himself cool. Impressive poise from the young athlete.
Schnitzer converts in the middle, having himself just we've said it so many times, but he really just has been great all final long.
And we see the Alberta block did not commit on him that time. Maybe that pass was a fraction off the net from perfect, but I still think Alberta's having success committing. Surprised that they weren't up on time there.
That ball goes off the block, and Curry had to take it as it might have been landing in. And then we see Jackson Howe is going to get called over the net, and those are such tough calls. And especially in that situation where it didn't look like anybody on the Alberta side was going to play the ball, so the ball was going to come over, but maybe not. Maybe the referee felt that he actually went over and prevented it from being played. So tough, just inches either way. I think as a coach, you want your players to be aggressive. It's probably a mistake you can live with, but they're so tantalizing when the ball's just sitting up there as Lowen's pass, cut off by Epp, and then out of the back row, Brody Hofer.
That set was as deceptive as it can get, Jared. That ball was floating very similar to the ball we just saw get called over the net, but Epp is able to contact it before it gets to the plane, and he flicks it with the upper body strength he has on the money. No block from Alberta. Hard, impossible even to react to that one.
Canham looks for the hands and does not find them. Bites his own hands, who isn't saying anything. I love there how the way he opened up to that ball, right? Saw it coming across, let it go, and he hit a good shot, just missed the sideline. Oh, actually, they're going to say it was off the block. So there we go, a late correction by the officials. And that's a big swing, right? 7-6 or 8-5, and that's still very early on here in set number 4, but that changes up a lot of how we're looking at this set. Elgert goes back to Canham out of the back row, and he gets a kill, and now it looks even bigger as it's back to a 4-point lead, 9-5 for the third set in a row. We're at 9-5. Interesting for that to be the spread, 3 sets in a row now.
Jordan Canham is firing on all cylinders. That was a bomb from the service line. They get a transition opportunity. He rips it down the line. He seems as comfortable as we've seen him in this match, and he is a deadly weapon. As I say it, I'm pumping his tires maybe a bit too much. That one falls short into the net, bailing the Spartans out.
And Canham listed at 6'5", which, you know, is obviously still quite big, but at the, you know, at this level, there's so many big guys on those opposite pins. But he is also coming in at 230 pounds, and I think that just shows the strength that he has. He is, you know, for what it's worth, the heaviest player on this Alberta team, and that's a situation where that's a solid 230 pounds. He's not carrying around a lot of extra weight. That's a guy that is just a big, thick, muscular dude, and I wouldn't be surprised. When you look at him there, he doesn't have the arms of 6'5", that's for sure, and that's something that's also really important. Height is one thing, but what is your wingspan as well? And he really has been so solid all weekend long for the Golden Bears. As that ball gets passed over the net and it's put down by Haslinga. 11-6 now, Alberta leading.
We can see the momentum shifting. This court is almost tilting in the Alberta favor, and I think that's a fantastic timeout called by Coach Ben Josephson of the Trinity Western Spartans, as you can't let this one get too, or you can't let your opponent get too comfortable or too aggressive as this set progresses. You need to do what you can to intervene, slow that momentum, and allow your side, the Spartan side, to regroup and break this run, because it's becoming one of those situations where Alberta can start to sense the end of this match. If they continue to grow this lead and if they continue to execute as they have been, they are only going to get more confident, they are only going to get more aggressive, and usually that is a deadly combination to earning points.
Yeah, right now it's Trinity has their back up against the wall, and I think Coach Josephson has sensed that. They are down 2-1 and down 11-6 in set number 4. And with the strength of this Alberta team, he does not want to see this lead grow any bigger. So we'll see what they're able to do out of the timeout. They go Jackson Howe, and I think that's always a good option. A good play to drop out of the timeout is find Jackson Howe in the middle. And we're going to see the early substitution. Isaiah Olfert will check in, and I think Coach Josephson is sensing here that if he lets this play out, you know, Olfert's going to come around probably around 18 or 19, but he senses that he needs a bit of a run right now to get his team back into it. So he's not going to wait with the Olfert substitution. He's going to it on this one here, but he actually has a foot fault, and that's a big, big play there by Alberta getting out of that rotation.
Unfortunate mistake there from the Spartan side, but that is the risk you run when you're trying to be as aggressive as possible. Obviously, as a serving sub, your job is to go in and earn a point from the service line. There is no other responsibility you have. So you have to give Olfert credit. He was trying to do just that. Unfortunate that he just was a little bit overzealous with his approach.
Yep, off the net, outside to Hofer, dug up there by the middle weeb. Those are always nice, and the middle can get the ball there, but make up for it, the Trinity Western Spartans get the big-time block on Canham out of the back row.
I think that play is more than just a point for Trinity. It's a shutdown of Canham, which hasn't happened much at all this match, especially later in the third and now throughout the fourth. So knowing that they can stop him no matter what, that can do a lot for the confidence and the flow of the Trinity side. Unfortunately, that flow was cut immediately following that with the service error.
You know, it's so interesting how this always seems to happen, but it was that early 4-0 lead. And now Trinity has basically been exchanging side outs to this point with Alberta, but they find themselves still just on that wrong side of that early start as that ball goes long. And they've been able to get past that, but they're just not able to cut into the lead. And if you're Alberta, that's obviously huge, right? You know you've got those 4 points early on. We side out at 100%, we win the game. And that's huge, knowing that. And you're just going for every point. You're being aggressive when you're serving because you know you've earned enough to this point. But I think if you're Alberta, you know you're not going to side out at 100%, and Trinity's going to keep coming forward. As we see right here, a good rally extended. Elser on the left side, but he's blocked there by Johnstone, and he's feeling it. The New Zealander looking for his first Canadian national championship if his team can pull away here in set number 4.
He's a player who plays with so much swagger, so much confidence, and he always looks like he's just having the time of his life out there. And when he's the one executing and making a big play like that, his next play is going to be even more physical, even more aggressive.
Derek Epp flushes it down. 14-10 now, and again, we just find ourselves that 4-point spread, and you're starting to run out of runway here a little bit, right? There's only so much road left in this set, and that's why we're seeing Coach Josephson again going to one of his serving subs here in Tate Callis, because he knows, he senses that as well. We got to find our way back into this set. We got to get a little bit, you know, down and dirty here and find a way to get some holds, because Alberta keeps rolling along. Cam Curran left side, covered there by Canham. Bump set from Curry. Cam Curran again. And this time he goes right off the outside hand of that blocker. And it's almost become, the story has almost become a non-story with Cam Curran playing left side. I think, you know, in most times you'd be making a bigger deal of this because Braden Friesen is a fantastic volleyball player. But Alberta has gone to Cam Curran, the setter, on the left side, and it's been a pretty seamless transition as he's played so well. And now Alberta is just 1 point away from the technical timeout here in set number 4. Jackson Howe, though, continues to execute, and the side out has not been the issue for the Spartans. It's trying to find those holds while they're serving. Let's see if they're able to come up with something here as they trail 15-11. Great replay there just to show how high and how dynamic Jackson Howe is in the middle. Now with Derek Epp, player of the year, on the service line. Nice pass. They go middle attack to Graydon Weeb, and Graydon Weeb is making the most of this opportunity. Did not start the match, but he finishes off that rally.
Yeah, beautiful execution from a serve-receive side of things for Alberta. You can't stress how that makes the game so much simpler when you can free up your outsides and you freeze up the middle blocker on the opposition side. It is just so difficult to worry about 4 fast and athletic lanes of offense coming your way. And I would really think that Trinity West needs to come out of this timeout, this technical timeout, and they need to try and run all 4 lanes a little bit better. We haven't seen them go to the pipe very much, and they've had so much success in that lane throughout this entire tournament. Now, that's been dictated a little bit by serve receive, a little bit by their transition defense. They haven't necessarily been able to get the ball to that lane. But if I was the Spartans, I would be trying to get there as much as you can, because Alberta has been commit blocking on the front row middle. That can open up that lane. Now that's asking a lot considering the pressure Alberta has been putting them under. We'll see what the response is after this technical timeout, but it is 5 points. That's significant.
I'm not a lip reader, but Doc Dale Johns, assistant coach, who's a long time assistant coach at the University of Alberta, been there forever, just giving some instructions to that his squad in that timeout. And I think really, kind of like we're talking about here, let's keep applying pressure when we're serving, but at this point, we just got to make sure we keep siding out, and that will certainly help as it's now 17-11, and that's the first time we've seen in quite a few rotations through where Trinity wasn't able to get the side out, and the lead has now been pushed to 6 with Jordan Canham serving, and Alberta is inching towards a big set win here in number 4, but we still got a long ways to go. Let's see what Trinity Western can do, but that will certainly help as it's an ace by Canham, 18-11.
Is it Canham or Cannon? That is a bomb from the back line, catching Hofer up high. They are rolling on all cylinders here, Jared. This is a long way to go for the Spartans. We know they're more than capable of it, though. We saw it yesterday against the Sherbrooke Verte Or.
So it's a 7-point advantage, 18-11. And Alberta is certainly feeling it. They started off with a big set number 1 win, had some issues in the second set, pulled out the third, but now really their most complete set of the day, up 18-11, got that early 4-0 lead, and just recently have been able to stretch this to a 7-point advantage. But the heart of this Trinity Western squad, we know this, we know they don't go away. They are not going to roll over here. If Alberta is the one going to be victorious today, they're going to have to earn these next 7 points. And they are going to be 7 of the biggest points that these players have probably ever played in their life. So I'm quite curious to see how this last part of this 4th set will go. Will it be Alberta who's able to hang on, or will Trinity Western be able to pull off the big comeback? That one there will certainly help the cause as that ball goes long. We saw last night, Trinity was able to pull out a big comeback in set number 1 against Sherbrooke. Can they do it again here against the Golden Bears? Jesse Elser's pass. Passed up there by Heslinga. And then we're going to say a back row violation, yet just over the line. So close. So there's one hold. Right, if you're Trinity, that's what you're thinking. Okay, we got one. Need a couple more still, but we got one. And this is probably the guy they'd like to have on the line. He was the one who was serving yesterday against Sherbrooke. Let's see if Elser can do it again. Tough serve there, taken by Weeb. Covered by the Golden Bears. Nice save there by Canham. Curran rolls it over. Epp quickly back outside to Brody Hofer. Nice save by the Golden Bears back line. Curran again. Covers zone attack. Can be a joust at the net. Oh, and that ball was kind of rattling around. This could be 4 hits, I think. No? Play continues. And now there will be a violation against the Spartans. That rally was all kinds of scramble on both sides.
Yeah, it's very, very confusing as to what the selection was from Trinity Western. But again, it doesn't matter. The point goes to Alberta, and that is a huge point and perhaps a bit of a soul crusher to a certain degree when you have kind of a confusing little sequence go on. And when the point doesn't go your way and you're trailing, that can really take the air out of your tires.
Also miscommunication there on that ball being passed over the net. Let's see if Trinity can take advantage. Epp outside, Hofer, and he makes Alberta pay for that mistake on their side. They had a good look, couldn't take advantage. 19-14 now. Alberta still with the 5-point lead, but Trinity doing everything they can to pull off the comeback here. That serve taken by Curry. Outside swing from, oh, and it's Alberta, it goes just long. So they find one more hold. Like I said, these points, you had this advantage, you feel good, but it's going to be so hard to earn these last few points. If you're going to win a national championship at this level, you got to be playing 100% to get these last few points. Trinity is going to make you earn it. They want to stretch this thing to a 5th set. Outside again, the Trinity Western block is there. Play continues for the Alberta side. Elser, oh, and he went to set the pipe, but a bit of miscommunication. And then it's Canham out of the back row off the block. And I think what happened there was Elser was playing defense in 5. I think he thought his brother was in 6, but Jackson Howe, who had been subbed out a lot with Olfert, maybe just a bit of a different alignment in the back row, kind of threw off their offense in transition. And it results in a side out for the Golden Bears, and it'll be Graydon Weeb with his team up 5, 20-15 in this 4th set. Will this be the decider, or will Trinity be able to come back and force it to a 5th? Lowen's pass taken by Epp outside Hofer, and Hofer finds the block and down. Good job there by the Spartans to get the side out.
Brody Hofer has been so consistent, and they are leaning on him in a big way. There's a lot of attention going his way. They obviously know that he is the offensive workhorse for the Spartans. He's had 4 hands in front of him a lot late in this set, but he's still finding a way to score. He's going to need to keep that up.
Aggressive serve there by Matthias Elser. Canham out of the back row, off the block and down. That's just one more step closer as they're just really dragging themselves here. I can't imagine the emotion of these players on the floor as they see that score. They're aware of the situation. They know what has to be done. 21-16, U of A. And it will be Max Elgert, the lone 50er on this Alberta team. Outside to Schnitzer, and Schnitzer converts for the Spartans.
That's an impressive swing from him. I know we've seen a lot, but that's kind of his first high ball situation that he has to manage on the left side, and that is such a different set than what he's used to in the middle, but he's still able to make an aggressive swing and a kill from that position. Dynamic athlete.
I feel like we've said this a few times, but Brody Hofer is somebody you're very happy to have on the service line if you're the Spartans. Elgert goes middle to Johnstone, cuts it back. Great diving save there by Hofer. Play continues. Elgert goes Johnstone again. Soft block by Schnitzer, covered by the Bears. They go back to Hislinga, and it looks like the Trinity Western block was on the net. 22-17, Alberta, set number 4.
Great sequence from Alberta. They are tidy on their side, covering hitters, extending rallies despite the solid blocking of the Spartans, and just waiting patiently for their opportunity to put the ball away. This time, they're bailed out by the error.
Back row swing, Hofer. Side out Spartans. The side out has not been the issue, Adam. They've been able to get through these rotations. They just got to find ways to get some holds when they're serving. You see a great replay there of Hofer, how dynamic he is coming out of the back row. Schnitzer, jump float, passed up by Curry, perfect ball. They go pipe to Hislinga, and he comes flying out of that stratosphere. 23-18, Golden Bears.
The confidence they have in the rookie in Hislinga, and why not? He's got virtually no block up there. That is exactly what you want to see as a back row attacker. Beautifully set up by Max Elgert. He is orchestrating a brilliant offense, and at the right times. He seems to go pipe late in every set, and he always catches the Trinity block by surprise with that selection. Beautiful offense.
Owen Murray has subbed in to serve here for Alberta. Ball passed up off the net by Lowen. Back row to Hofer. Dug up by Hislinga. Elgert goes back to him on the pipe. Good save there by the Spartans. Going to be a joust situation at the net. Kept alive by the Trinity defense. Colton Lowen looks to just sneak it over, but he puts it into the net. And that gives Alberta a championship point. 24-18, they lead, and they can sense it. The championship is almost theirs.
Not much to say about that play. That might just be the moment eating him up a little bit, and it's unfortunate to see that result, but nonetheless, there are a lot of match point opportunities for Alberta.
Oh, and Murray puts the serve into that. He had the winning ace last night in the semifinals. Unable to come up with that one there. But Alberta still has multiple chances here to convert for the gold medal. Let's see what Alberta is able to do. Can they get this side out right here and finish this thing off? Championship point number 2. The player of the year, Derek Epp, on the service line. Passed up by Hislinga. Elgert goes back to Canham, and that'll do it. It's been years in the making. The Bears from Alberta are golden again. Your 2022 U Sports Men's National Champions, the Alberta Golden Bears.
What a fantastic team effort from Alberta. From their serve receive to their block to their transition offense, every facet was clicking for them tonight, and how fitting Jordan Canham to put that ball away. He was virtually untouched throughout the latter portion of that match. Congratulations to the Golden Bears. Big shout out to the Trinity Western Spartans. They battled all season long. They were ranked #1 almost coast to coast throughout the entire season. They put up a great fight, but ultimately it was the firepower of the Golden Bears that was just too much to handle for the Spartans.
What a win for the Alberta Golden Bears. I think if you asked Coach Davidoff, he said it was such an honor to be playing Coach Josephson in this situation, and you know, maybe a little bit of sweet revenge for that loss he suffered in his last game as a player. And I'm sure if you asked him, he would say it's not about him, it's about the team and about the players that are playing here today. But for the program, we mentioned the 5th time these two teams have played for the championship gold. The series was tied 2-2, and maybe just a little bit of extra, you know, a little bit of extra icing, the cherry on top, knowing that they take that lead in what is just such a fantastic rivalry. And you know, we mentioned Canham. I think we're going to be saying his name later again, most likely as a tournament MVP in this championship. But what a job by this Alberta Golden Bears team. You know, they suffered the huge injury to Braden Feason a few weeks ago, who is, you know, one of the great young players we have in this country. Cam Kern, the setter, steps in, volunteers to play left side, fills his shoes admirably, and it just looked like Alberta, they just weren't going to be denied. You know, they had a bit of the tough set against Calgary last night, right? They battled back. Yes, speaking of Coach Davidoff, he said, we're not quite sure what happened on that one, but we were able to pull it out. And then you see in set 2, here today against Trinity, it just didn't look like things were really working for them, but they bounced back and they managed to pull it out. They pulled out that 3rd set. They win this here in 4. And I think you can't help but wonder the emotions that go into this when they were here on the court 2 years ago in this same venue. And I think if you ask that team, they felt like they had the team to win this whole tournament 2 years ago. We know the story. Everything got canceled the night before the tournament. There was no matches last season. And then through all the adversity they've had this year, they walk away as your 2022 national champions. And I mean, full kudos to both teams. Such a great match. And, you know, unfortunately, when you get to this level, somebody has to lose. And today it was Trinity Western who just came up a little bit short, but awesome volleyball all around. So we're going to see here, we're going to have the presentations of the Macassa Player of the Game presented by Nike Team, and no arguments there whatsoever. I mean, I think there was a couple great options for Trinity Western, but it is Brody Hofer who is being recognized as the player of the match, the Nike Team Player of the Game. And for Alberta, it is Jordan Canham who will be the Macassa Player of the Game presented by Nike Team. And Bison alum Alan Eady down on the floor presenting these awards. And Alan, a former setter and a national champion himself with the University of Manitoba, one of the finest alumni the University of Manitoba has, hosted a great alumni function on Thursday night. And we're going to stick with you through this whole presentation. For those who aren't able to be here today, we want to make sure that you get a sense of what things are like here inside the IGAC, as we see the Alberta players already received their championship shirts and hats. And that's something that they will keep and cherish for a very, very long time. And once you win, it can never be taken away from you. It's just an incredible feeling for them to reach the mountaintop. I think we're actually going to have Sherbrooke has come down on the court side as well. And let's just quickly spend 30 seconds on them, Adam. What an amazing run they had this weekend. Such a strong team and very exciting to watch as well.
Definitely, they brought the energy and the emotion throughout this entire tournament, ultimately leading to a bronze medal. So congratulations to them. Huge for their program.
Looks like Jack Madrick from the University of Manitoba Bisons is being recognized. My guess, because we weren't able to hear the audio with that one, I think this is likely the Player's Choice Award would be my guess, I believe, as we see Azad Hussein, who's just one of the absolute biggest gems you could find in all of volleyball across the country, but especially for us here locally in Winnipeg, presenting that award. Maybe a Referee's Choice Award. I'm not completely sure what that award was, but a nice recognition for Jack Mandrick, the setter at the University of Manitoba. We do have some tournament all-stars to present here. So it looks like from Trinity Western, Derek Epp will be recognized, and pretty exciting to see what his future has in store. And, you know, you see the emotion on these Trinity Western players, and, you know, I can't blame them. I mean, this is a situation where, you know, same as them, you say Alberta felt like they had a team. Well, I'm sure Trinity Western felt like they had that team 2 years ago as well, as Landon Curry now being recognized for the University of Alberta, and he had himself a great tournament as well. Julian Vanier getting recognized from Sherbrooke. And yeah, just to go back to Sherbrooke there quickly, like, what a great finish for them. Couple upsets along the way to qualify just for the tournament to get out of their conference, and then defeating Toronto in the first round. And really, they gave Trinity a good push last night, and then a great match today against Calgary to win the bronze.
They did. I was completely impressed by the Sherbrooke program. They did every little thing that a good team needs to do to become a great team. Serve, receive, block, attack. It was all so tidy on their end. Very, very impressive play from Sherbrooke.
Looks like for Calgary, their all-star is Hamish Hazelden, and had himself a fantastic season. This was his 5th season of eligibility, so he'll be moving on. I'm sure he'll be finding himself a nice pro contract somewhere, the Australian. But I bet you if you asked, he's enjoyed his time in Canada, would be my theory. And another all-star from Trinity Western, Brody Hofer, has been selected. Again, there's really no bad selections in this field. There's so many good players. And then Isaac Aslinga, the outstanding first-year player, being selected from Alberta.
Not only is he seventh all-star, but the tournament MVP from the Alberta Golden Bears, number 4, Jordan.
I think we were all over that one, Adam. I think we could have maybe won a couple bucks if there was a way to put some wagers down on that one in Vegas somewhere. Jordan Canham, the tournament MVP, and a great selection. I mean, again, you could have picked multiple players for these all-star teams, and I think it's really truly a reflection of their teammates. And, you know, there's only so many individual awards, obviously, but he really was fantastic all tournament long for Alberta. Now we're going to have the medal presentation to Sherbrooke, and, you know, just the emotion from that Sherbrooke team when they won the bronze. I mean, it was just a wholesome moment. It was just a nice, feel-good moment where, you know, they really wanted that bronze medal. You could really tell. And, you know, maybe we'll just quickly run down the roster for Sherbrooke, Adam, because I think they deserve some recognition here for how well they played this weekend.
Absolutely. Unfortunately, we can't quite track the order that the players are receiving their medals in, but we will run down the roster. It's number 1, Simon Dupuis-Coutier. Number 3, Anthony Lachance. Number 4, Jonathan Portalance. He was actually named the player of the match for Sherbrooke in the bronze medal game. Number 5, Zachary Halland. Number 6, Yohan David. Number 7, Zachary Moussoin. Number 8, Elliot Collard. Number 10, Julien Vanier. He was selected as a tournament all-star just a moment ago. Number 11, Jeremy Doyon. Number 12, Sébastien Lapenier. Number 14, Sacha Labbé. Number 15, Raphael Vienne. Number 16, Guillaume Rivet. Number 19, Charles Eugene Bonnet-Roy. And number 20, Maxime Lemieux. And to cap it all off, the coaching staff for Sherbrooke, that's Mohamed El Fati Abed. He did a fantastic job, and their team was so thrilled for him when they won that bronze medal.
Adam, do you want to run down the Trinity Western roster as well as we see them receiving their medals?
Absolutely. It's number 1, Colby Nemeth. Number 2, Colton Lowen. Number 3, Jackson Comel. Number 4, Isaiah Olfert. Number 5, and tournament all-star Brody Hofer. Number 6, Matthias Elser. Number 7, Jackson Howe. Number 8, Reed Marriott. Number 9, Aaron Elser. Number 10, Taylor Roxburgh. Number 11, Jesse Elser. 12, Henry Rempel. 13, Corey Schoenher. 14, Tate Callis. 15, Devin Hofsink. 16, Jordan Schnitzer. 17, Liam Rempel. Number 18, Tyson Hofer. Number 19, Ansem Rain. Number 20, U Sports Men's Volleyball Player of the Year and Tournament All-Star Derek Epp. And of course, head coach Ben Josephson.
As we see now the Alberta Golden Bears receiving their medal, and I would love to hear all these names as well, Adam.
Number 1, Sam Drybro. Number 2, Bryce Newells. Number 3, Billy Johnstone. Number 4, Jordan Canham, the U Sports Men's Volleyball Championship Tournament MVP. Number 5, Cam Kern. Number 6, Jacob Dynam. Number 7, Max Elgert. Number 8, Ben Molink. Number 9, Liam Huth. Number 10, Liam Esposito. Number 11, Landon Curry, and a tournament all-star in his own right. Number 12, Graydon Weeb. Number 13, Braden Friesen. Number 14, Owen Murray. Number 15, Joel Nickel. Number 16, Julian Phillips. Number 17, tournament all-star Isaac Heslinga. And number 19, Vigo Wozniak. And of course, head coach Brock Davidic, just in his 3rd season.
And to be fair, there are so many other people involved on these teams, as we see John Olfert has been called down to the court side now to help present the banner and trophy. But we can't name everybody. There's huge support staffs, but want to make sure we see you, we know you're out there, whether it be assistant coaches and it be trainers. And I think this is the moment that everybody dreams of in Canadian volleyball, as we see the captains for this Alberta Golden Bears step forward to receive the championship banner. And what is, just the most beautiful trophy in Canadian volleyball, the Tantramar Trophy, named after the Tantramar Marshes in New Brunswick, which was donated in 1967 by Mount Allison University. And, how fitting, even though he's injured, Braden Friesen right there with the team. And now here they go, celebrate. And that's something that every Canadian volleyball player dreams about when you step foot into U Sports, as you see the trainer getting emotional there as you see the boys celebrate. And that's just, doesn't matter who you're cheering for. It never gets old seeing a team celebrate winning a gold medal at the U Sports level. Incredible. There's just not much more you can really say. It's something, there's so many storied teams and coaches and players and programs who have hoisted that trophy. And Alberta, just an incredible season. And I know they actually bust here, Adam. They couldn't get a flight. And speaking with them yesterday, they couldn't get flights to Winnipeg, and they bust here. And not that anybody ever really loves a bus ride, but something tells me that bus ride will be the best one that these players and coaches have ever taken in their life. And now this is the best part, right? We can go down to courtside and pose with the trophy, and the families can come down into the court. And this is something that you said, this is a dream. This is a dream come true. That banner will hang forever in the Saville Center where Alberta plays. And that trophy, obviously it gets passed around to whoever wins, and it's not something you get to keep. But knowing your team name goes on it and you have that medal forever, it's just it's such a special feeling. And after everything that we've been through the last couple of years, I'm sure for these players, it just tastes that much sweeter.
Yeah, they're immortalized in time there, Jared. And to that last point you made, this must feel so rewarding. These athletes have been deprived of opportunities over these last 2 years. They've continued to grind and stay on their craft, honing it, whether it's in the gym, at home, in the workout room. they are doing things so differently over these past 2 years, but they refuse to let those barriers or those challenges keep them down, and they have overcome so much to get to this point. Congratulations to these athletes.
Well, that'll just about do it for us here at the University of Manitoba. And I just, on behalf of all the volunteers and all the staff and everybody who was part of this championship, I don't think we can really fully express what it was like to be one day away 2 years ago, to have that taken away from you, and then fire it back up and get the band back together to do it 2 years later. And there's so many good people here at the university. There's so many people who've been devoting time, and it's incredible that this championship went off, and I know that they're very happy with how everything went. So for all the staff, all the volunteers, all the fans, everybody really in the community, everybody who's involved in this webcast, whether it be with CBC Sports and all the people behind the scenes, it's been a blast. I've had a great time doing it with you, partner. Had so much fun. I hope everybody out there enjoyed it, and we can't wait to be back again in the future. Next year, McMaster, they'll be the host, and I know they'll do a fantastic job. So until then, we hope you have a great night. If there's still time, I'd suggest flipping over and watching the women's hockey final or the women's volleyball final. I think both are still going. So it's been a slice, Adam. So much fun, and I hope we can do it again in the future. So thank you, everybody. Enjoy your night. All the best, and we'll see you soon.
U Sports on CBC, brought to you in part by les championnats U Sport. Vous êtes présenté par the Government of Canada, le gouvernement du Canada. Barron, exclusive supplier of U Sports Championship rings, le fournisseur exclusif des bagues des championnats U Sport. Nike Team, just do it, faites-le. Veriburn, medical supply partner of varsity athletics since 1979. Partenaire de sport universitaire depuis 1979. Fox 40, celebrating a decade of the Fox 40 U Sports Coach of the Year program. Fier partenaire des prix de l'entraîneur de l'année U Sport depuis 10 ans. Mikasa, l'étoile montante de volleyball. Le V200W, ballon officiel de U Sport. Mikasa, makers of volleyball's hottest star, the V200W, official volleyball of U Sports.